T-minus 1 minute. T-minus 50 seconds. T-minus 40 seconds. T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 20 seconds. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Hi, this is Hall of Famer Eric Dickerson, and you listen to the Harris Highlights Show. Enjoy it.
Na 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 na.
Coming to you live from beautiful downtown Tempe in beautiful Arizona. This is the Harris Highlight Show, yet again live on Zoom here on YouTube. Got a very, very fun show for you guys tonight. We got full NFL draft coverage, and we're also going to be doing a Q&A, maybe some trivia. We're still trying to figure that out in the group chat as to what exactly is going to be going down tonight, but a lot of awesome NFL draft content. So joining us this week is our college football analyst, Josh Schaefer.
Hello.
Our college football expert, Lyle Goldstein. Our executive producer, Brady Klein, who is our intern. Brady Klein
couldn't make it tonight,
here.
so I'm going to be taking over for him.
I
have all the notes. We're good.
All right, sounds good. So our intern is taking Brady Klein's role, and I'm your host for the evening, Blake Harris. Boys,
What are you doing? Get out!
How we doing this week, boys?
Over everything.
I can't tell if this is actually legit or Brady's actually upset that Mason did this. Brady, was that set up or were you not
That was
ready?
set up. Him running into the table when he left the room and knocking my computer almost off the thing was not set up.
I just realized that I've not been muted, so I apologize for laughing in everyone's ear the whole time.
Well, the show's already off to a great start, but how's everyone doing this past week?
It is hot. Not that I would know because I've been inside quarantining like a good person.
Yeah, we're doing well. I mean, what much else do we have to say these days? It's not like we're, out doing a million things or anything like that.
As always, Lyle is an abundance of information and joy today, so I can see we're off to a good start.
Perfect. Well, I see Brady's got a brand new microphone that he's testing out. See, the problem is I can't use my microphone, my Yeti mic, because I have a new MacBook. And with the new MacBook, you can't plug in like an old-fashioned USB type thing. So I have to get a new one. So
An adapter will cost you $12.
I can't afford that, Brady.
But you're going to buy a new microphone.
There you go. All right, boys, we got a lot of great stuff to talk about this week. As I mentioned, we're going to be recapping the NFL draft. So essentially what we're going to do is we're pretty much just going to go over the first round, not like every pick, but kind of just some highlights of the first round, maybe some highlights of like the second round, maybe some players that kind of fell later into the draft. We're also going to be talking about how our teams did for the draft. So, I mean, if you guys are new, I'm a Saints fan, Josh is a Rams fan, Lyle's a Seahawks fan, and Brady's a Colts fan. So we have completely, different teams with different opinions. And we're also going to be sharing one different team that we all thought had the best draft. So we didn't all want to have the same one. So it's kind of like a first come, first served basis where whatever team you thought had the best draft, claim them and pretty much say why you thought they had the best draft. So we want to have a lot of interaction with you guys in the comments. So if you're watching in the live stream, leave comments as down below as to who you thought had the best draft. what you thought the worst pick was, what you thought the best pick was, and overall what your thoughts were on the virtual draft. Before we get into the picks, guys, as Brady's taking the snapshot right now, got to make sure we look good. What were you guys' thoughts on the virtual draft? Pretty much welcoming Roger Goodell into your living room in the now most famous chair in America. What do you guys think of the virtual draft?
You know what? I thought Roger Goodell absolutely killed it. I thought he was awesome. And I think that was something that it was so awkward. Like, let me hear it, Chiefs fans.
Well,
Super Bowl chop. Super Bowl
crazy
chop.
enough.
Bring in the booze.
I don't
Come
know if you
on
saw
now.
this video.
Chop.
I don't know if you saw this video, but the people
With the
were
30-second pick.
The people were actually live during, I think, the first round of the draft, so they could actually see Goodell interacting with them.
Yeah, it was awkward, but like I thought it was cool. And then you could tell like he was so relatable by the end of like the third round. He's just like sitting there like, Jesus, okay.
Like, hey,
all my M&Ms are gone.
third pick. If anyone cares anymore. Blake is in the Goodell chair.
Yeah, I mean, this is my absolute favorite photo from the entire time. I think this was on the second. It was day 2 because he still did, I think, rounds 2 and 3 if I remember correctly. And this was like when we were at pick 100, and he was standing up, and then he decided, no, I'm going to sit in the chair and go full casual. So this was my favorite part. But overall, I mean, Roger Goodell, which is like the tough part, is how he seems to be like virtually hated everywhere. But you've never had a chance to really see him as like an actual common guy. You know, the day of the draft, he had like that 2-minute video of him like showing his man cave basement, which, as Brady and I were talking about, you thought that Roger Goodell would have had a much better man cave than what he did. But Roger Goodell, like, he seemed such a likable guy. Like Josh said, all the stuff he was doing, he's like, come on, keep booing me. When he was like doing the chop with the Chiefs fans, he was like doing the skull with Vikings fans. I just his jar of M&Ms that was a different color each day, and he would just eat the entire thing. Roger Goodell, I mean, he's still questionable as a commissioner, but I think as a guy, we got to see what kind of a man he is, and he seems like a fun guy. Which, if it wasn't for $100,000 to hang out with him in his man cave, I'd bid so I can hang with Roger Goodell and watch a Monday Night Football game for night. But overall, I thought the virtual draft was great. I think they've talked about taking some things from it, implementing it in future drafts, because a lot of people like seeing the coaches, the GMs, them at home, seeing what they were doing. So overall, I mean, it was the best we could get, and I thought it was an absolute success. But guys, I think it's time that we get to some NFL draft discussions. So let's get things underway. So, I mean, the draft started off as planned. It went Burrow, Chase Young, then it went Okudah. Andrew Thomas was the first tackle off the board. So that was kind of a bit of a surprise. But I kind of want to start here with Tua and Justin Herbert, because there was a lot of speculation as to whether or not Tua and Herbert would go 5 and 6, whether or not the Dolphins would take Tua at 5, whether they trade up to take a tackle, whether they'd take a quarterback later. So it all went as planned. Tua goes number 5, Herbert goes number 6. Do you guys think that those were the right calls for the Dolphins and Chargers to make? I know with Tua's injury history, he's kind of concerning there. I know Lyle's not a huge Justin Herbert fan. I know the guy that actually writes for the Chargers SB Nation site, he actually gave Herbert a second-round grade, and so a lot of Chargers fans are upset about him over that. So I know a lot of people were kind of having different opinions on that. So it officially happened. They went 5 and 6. What are your guys' thoughts on the draft going as what many thought would potentially happen?
Yeah, I think people are rightfully concerned about Tua's injury troubles. I mean, he didn't really. Like we all saw. I mean, he was injured here and there throughout his career, and some of it was more critical, or some of his injuries were more critical than other times. But I think that's a relevant concern. But also, I think it's worth pointing out that at this point in the draft, like, we've seen what he can do. I think he absolutely deserved to get picked where he did. I think he's going to be a good NFL quarterback, especially if he can stay healthy. And obviously, I'm going to assume that he does. I think that's a good pick. And I think it's a no-brainer pick. And then the thing with Herbert, I mean, the potential is through the roof. Like, we've all seen the potential through the roof. Everybody thinks he has such a high ceiling, but especially the four of us, like, firsthand, we've seen a couple of years in a row, like ASU and Oregon have played some really good football games the last 3 years. And when it comes to those two teams meeting up, I've not been impressed whatsoever. When he's not playing ASU, he looks great. But a couple years against ASU, some of his struggles were evident. And I'm not saying that that's because ASU is a great football team or anything like that. I just think that the potential is there, but some of the doubts are also there too. So I've seen both ends of the spectrum there.
Yeah, Tua was the right pick at 5. And I know the Dolphins kind of teetered back and forth. Were they going to trade up to get one of these guys? Were they going to sit and get one of these guys? And nobody knew what was going to happen after Chase Young at 2 and Burrow at 1. But for the Dolphins, this is the right move. And I'll save my Justin Herbert thoughts because I've given those the last couple shows. But if you're the Dolphins, like, to be honest, yeah, Tua's got injury problems. I would 10 times out of 10 rather have 3 great years out of Tua, and then he gets hurt and you're forced to draft another quarterback, than 8 below average to average years of Justin Herbert. So, I mean, if you're the Dolphins, take the best guy on the board despite the injury. Hope he kind of just propels through him, and he turns out to have a really good career, which if Tua stays healthy, I think he will. Chargers, look, I get you needed a quarterback, and I know I had Herbert really low in my draft, but it was kind of the same idea that I had in terms of what actually happened in the draft. It was just with 2 different quarterbacks. I had similar to McShay, where I thought Love would go at 6 and then Herbert would fall, when in reality, Herbert went at 6 and Love would fall. So, I mean, look, you guys know I'm not very high on Herbert. I think he's got a lot of problems with his game, and I don't think he makes a lot of tough throws. But you know what? The Chargers did a lot more film study than I did, and if they think this is their guy and they felt that they really needed a quarterback, then the pick makes sense for him here at 6.
See, I don't know if you guys saw this, but Chargers GM Tom Telesco said on, I think it was Pat McAfee's radio show the other day, listen, he was high on all 3 of the first quarterbacks taken, Burrow. He was willing to say if Herbert would have been taken at 5, they would have taken Tua at 6. So they were willing to take either of those 2 quarterbacks, whichever one was taken before. But he didn't say which one they would take if both were available. But I think Herbert, is a solid pick for this Charger system. I wouldn't want to say equivalent replacement, because it's tough to replace a guy that's been there for so long like Phillip Rivers has. So it's a linear replacement, I would say, so far in play style. But the one thing that we saw from Justin Herbert in the Rose Bowl and later in the season is his mobility. And that was one thing that, throughout the year, he never really showed. It never really showed his athleticism, his mobility, his ability to move outside of the pocket and get the yardage needed for a first down. So I think, it's going to be an interesting thing to see what the Chargers organization does with Herbert. If they allow him to be mobile, if they draw up plays for him to move the pocket one way or another and force plays to each sideline. So that's one thing I'm really interested in seeing, is how the offense is designed around Justin Herbert to use his talents best suited.
Yeah, does anybody else feel bad for Josh Rosen, though? Like 2 years in a row, man.
No, see, what's going to happen is Josh Rosen, he's going to get traded this year to some random team. He's going to be the starter there for 3 games, and then next year that team's going to take a quarterback. That's what's going to happen.
I feel bad for him.
Josh Rosen's going to have more career
I still think to this day
started.
he has the chance to be really good. It's just unfortunate that 2 years in a row he's been on borderline the worst team in the league and then just been yanked.
Yeah, I mean, overall, it was interesting to see the picks. It'll be interesting to see what the Chargers do with Justin Herbert, because there's a chance he might not even be the starter, or he might not even get that many starts, because they still have Tyrod Taylor there, who I know he's been kind of MIA the last few years because he got that concussion when he was with the Browns. I don't even know if he played it all last year or got any real snaps in. So there's going to be a quarterback battle there, and I wouldn't be shocked if Tyrod Taylor wins it. Tua, if you're the Dolphins, I think you just roll with Ryan Fitzpatrick and kind of have like a redshirt year for Tua, wait for him to get fully healthy, because the Dolphins, they're not going to be competing for the division this year. So you might as well just make sure Tua gets fully healthy, have him kind of learn the system. And Ryan Fitzpatrick, I mean, the GOAT himself, he can win you 5 to 6, 7 games or so. So both those quarterbacks, I'm not going to be shocked if neither one of them starts more than 8 games. Again, if I was the Dolphins, I'd be kind of cautious with Tua, because when healthy, I think Tua is the best quarterback. in this class. But again, he says he's healthy, but I would just be safe with him. So quarterbacks go 5 and 6 there. Another thing I want to touch up on, guys, and that's the next two picks that happened. And that's Derek Brown and Isaiah Simmons. Derek Brown goes 7, Isaiah Simmons goes 8. A lot of people thought that Isaiah Simmons was the clear-cut second best defensive prospect in this draft. Some people even had him at 1 just because of his versatility, the fact that he could play linebacker, safety. It looks like the Cardinals want to have him at the linebacker position. He falls to 8. Now, I know the Panthers, they lost Luke Kuechly this offseason because he retired. Do you think it was a smart move on their part to take Derek Brown, who a lot of people were also high on, but not as many people, over a guy like Isaiah Simmons, who is so versatile, who could come in and replace Luke Kuechly right there? Because I know, like I said, a lot of people were kind of mixed with who was the better pick. Or personally, I would have taken Simmons in a heartbeat. The fact that he was even available at 8, I thought was nuts. So what are your guys' thoughts on the Panthers going with Derek Brown over Isaiah Simmons?
Yeah, well, I'll talk about the actual Simmons pick a little bit later when we talk about some of the teams that we liked. But I mean, I was surprised to see him fall as far as 8. If you guys remember one of our first shows that we did on Zoom, I'm pretty sure I had him going at 3 before Okudah. I'm pretty sure I had him and then Thomas. And then when we did our second show, I switched it around a little bit and had Okudah go at 3, and I had Wills go at 4 instead of Thomas. So I'm surprised that he fell that far in the first place. But with him on the board at 7, I mean, I had him going to Carolina too. So I was surprised. I don't hate the Derek Brown pick because I think that he can absolutely fit right in there. But with the Panthers, with Kuechly going with no more Luke Kuechly, I feel like that Simmons was not only the more obvious pick, but maybe the safer pick too. But they decided to go somewhere else with it.
I think it's just in terms of need with the Panthers. And look, like Luke Kuechly is phenomenal. He's going to be a Hall of Famer sooner rather than later. But Luke Kuechly is a middle linebacker, and Simmons is more of a hybrid outside linebacker, safety, corner. So, like, if a team's worried about replacing their middle linebacker, like, that's not what Simmons is going to do. Now, Simmons still could have been what people call the clear obvious pick just because he's the best player on the board. But I kind of get what the Panthers are coming from because, like I've always said, you want to rebuild and start your team somewhere, you start in the trenches because a great pass rush and a great offensive line leads to everything else being lethal. So I didn't think there was a wrong pick. I didn't think the difference between Brown and Simmons was that big. I think both those guys are going to be phenomenal defenders. And clearly the Panthers and Matt Rule value the ability to rush the passer, which Derek Brown's going to do for years to come. So I didn't think Simmons would fall this far, but I also don't slam the Panthers for making the pick.
If there was any question in anybody's mind that Matt Rule isn't a defensive head coach, all 7 of their draft picks were defensive players. First team in history to go all defense in a draft. But I think Derek Brown is a solid pick for him because one of the big pieces they lost on this defense, yes, he was only there for 1 year. He had 40 tackles, was Jared McCoy. He was their main interior defensive lineman. The Panthers had this last year. And so now you replace him with a young guy like Derek Brown, who's very athletic, very Gerald McCoy-esque, and he's 10 years younger than Gerald McCoy, 8 years younger than McCoy. So I think that was a very solid pick. You know, I had Brown originally falling 9 to Jacksonville. So he was going to be a top 10 pick either way. Simmons, I had 4 originally to the Giants. Everything gets thrown away in the draft like we saw. Tackles, different defensive players. But I think there's really no complaints with me for the Derek Brown pick at all. I think he's a solid guy. He's able to fill the need that you have up front. Like Lyle said, the defense starts in the trenches and solid core of defenses up front in the front 7, especially in the front 3 or 4, depending on what system you run. But hey, all 7 of your draft picks for Carolina were on the defense side of the ball. Hopefully that can pay off well for him.
Yeah, that's still remarkable that they went all defense there. So Matt Rule coming in to establish the D there. So C.J. Henderson, he then goes 9th. Then we had some offensive tackles go off the board a lot later than I think a lot of people initially thought, because there were some rumors that like we might see all the tackles go like starting to pick 3, like pick 3, 4, 5, something like that. But they kind of waited till the end. Something interesting happened with the Raiders. They were sitting there at 12. Now, everyone and their mothers knew that the Raiders were going to go with a wide receiver in this draft. It was just a matter of which one of the main 3 guys were they going to go with. Were they going to go with CeeDee Lamb, Henry Ruggs, or Jerry Jeudy? A lot of people thought that there'd be one of them available, 2 of them available. but all three of the main guys were there for the Raiders at 12. No one went wide receiver. A lot of people thought the Jets. I thought the Jets, they'd go wide receiver at 11. I also thought maybe the Jaguars would go, or maybe a team would trade up. So the Raiders, they're sitting there at 12. They have any of the wide receivers they want, and they go with Henry Ruggs. So guys, I mean, Henry Ruggs, they viewed him as the best wide receiver in this class. I don't think a lot of people had Henry Ruggs as being the first wide receiver taken off the board, especially if you would have asked people a year ago who's going to be wide receiver one. I don't think maybe anyone would have said Henry Ruggs. So what are your thoughts on the Raiders, again, having any of the wide receivers they want, deciding to go with Henry Ruggs?
Yeah, did not think that was the direction they were going to go. For me, Judy was the first one off the board and then CeeDee. But I again, like this was such a good class that I don't really think you could go wrong in any of these places. For example, like when the Jets took Becton over a wide receiver, like I thought that was fine too, because realistically, when they were coming up in the second round, they were picking at 48 and then traded it to the Seahawks. So I thought that would have been a good place to get another receiver, considering, for example, like Chase Claypool went like one receiver later. So that was a Seahawks pick that was originally the Jets. And then the Jets were picking again later in that same round, and then took Denzel Mims. So like, I think that's a fine pick right there too. So for the Jets, I think it works out in general. For any team, I think the receiver pick works out. I was just surprised to see that it was Ruggs first.
Yeah, so this guy's going to be very boomer bust, and I've said this. Like, he could be John Ross, he could be Tyreek Hill, because he's so fast, and he just beats every defender that steps in his way down the field. But like I said, I mean, just how Ross got hurt running at the combine, you saw Ruggs get hurt running at the combine, and, I know people said that DK Metcalf couldn't run a lot of routes last year coming into the draft, and he learned in his rookie year, which Ruggs very well could do, but he's not the same build that Metcalf has. Ruggs is a very skinny, slim, straight line receiver who has the chance to, again, be like Hill or Mecole Hardman with his speed. But yeah, I mean, if you're the Raiders, I thought they would want a surefire wide receiver one. And the safer guys for that, I feel like, were Judy and CeeDee. But they opt to go with the upside, like John Gruden often likes to do, and they're hoping Ruggs is going to pan out. I didn't think Ruggs was going to be wide receiver one by any standard. But, I mean, we'll see how it plays out with those three down the road.
Yeah, like Lyle said, the upside is a Tyreek Hill, and the bottom is going to be what? John Ross, who we haven't seen anything of in the last couple of years he's been in the league. One of the things that I've thought about the combine is you see the top 3 or 4 fastest guys a lot of times will tweak a hamstring, will tweak something or get injured when running the 40. Because for me, the 40 at the combine's incentivized. At least it was the last couple of years. Like Adidas is like, hey, we'll throw in $1 million if you run the fastest 40 wearing our shoes. Right. And so you get these guys who are pushing even harder. They can run a 4.25, or they're trying to push for the 4.23 or whatever number they're going to try to go for. So they're pushing the extra limit. Yes, that's what the combine is about. But at that point, fast is fast. So that's one of the things that I've seen over the last couple of years is the incentivized at the combine is these guys that are trying to go for that record or trying to go for the fastest or trying to prove something instead of just doing what they're doing is they're getting hurt. The wide receiver scenario was, listen, you have the option to pick one of the 3 best receivers in college football this year to be on your team, and they picked the 3rd best. I'm not knocking him for it. He's still going to be a top receiver in any other draft. He'd be a number 1 receiver off the board. But we're knocking John Gruden and the Raiders for taking the 3rd best receiver first, when any other year he'd be the number 1 guy. I still think it should have been Jerry Jeudy, that first receiver taken, but you pick his teammate Henry Ruggs. It is what it is. We'll see if it pays off and pair him with the gritty Hunter Renfrow for John Gruden and Mike Mayock and the crew there in Las Vegas.
Yeah, I'm reading the comments right now, and Cameron Bishop hit it perfectly. And that's the fact that Henry Ruggs wasn't even the best wide receiver on his own team, let alone he's the first wide receiver going. So I just think the Raiders, they went into this draft saying we got to get Henry Ruggs, no matter what. That was the little post-it note, I think, that the Raiders had crumbled up. But yeah, personally, I would have gone with Judy or Lamb over him. But Lyle said it perfectly as well, where he can either be like a John Ross or it could be a Tyreek Hill. It's a completely boomer bust type guy. But the Raiders, they also made some nice moves later on. They got Lynn Bowden out of Kentucky, who I think they're pretty much going to have him do whatever. I think they said they're going to use him as running back, wide receiver, and they also got Brian Edwards, really underrated wide receiver out of South Carolina. So they loaded up their draft class with some good wide receivers. But looking now at some of the picks that went following, we had Tristan Wirfs, who fell all the way to 13. I think when we did our show, we thought Tristan Wirfs was like arguably the best offensive tackle in this entire draft, maybe 2 behind Jedrick Wills, and he goes all the way to 13. The Niners, they opt to not go with the wide receiver here. They go Javon Kinlaw, and then Jerry Jeudy goes to the Broncos at 15. So what a pick by the Broncos. But guys, this is the one that I want to just go over right now, and that's the fact that CeeDee Lamb goes to the Dallas Cowboys at 17. I don't think Jerry Jones or anyone in the Cowboys organization thought that CeeDee Lamb was going to be there at 17. I think essentially every mock draft we saw, and I know when we did ours, I think like 3 or 4 of us actually had like the same picks. And CeeDee Lamb's still sitting there at 17. They draft him. They now have Dak Prescott throwing to Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, and CeeDee Lamb. So what a trio of wide receivers, arguably the best trio of wide receivers in the NFL. And now CeeDee, which a lot of us had as the number 1 wide receiver in this class, he goes to Dallas with a quarterback that's already proven. He's going to fit the system really well, and he's just set up to thrive. So what were your thoughts when he kept falling and all of a sudden Dallas announced that they were going to be drafting him?
I was surprised to see him fall that far, but then when we had Ruggs go first, like I said, like it's a fine pick. Thought that Jeudy or Lamb would be the first one off the board. So if he's there, that's one of those things where even if you're not looking for a wide receiver, it's worth considering, trying to weigh what your needs are at that point. Because I get it that it's the first round and there are a lot of really good guys available in the first round. But if I'm in that situation, if I'm not even looking for a wide receiver, I'm thinking, hold on. CeeDee Lamb's on the board. So
that's where the phrase best available comes into play.
Yeah. So exactly. And he would have been one of the best available. And it's the first round. So I kind of don't want to be like, oh, well, who's the best available at 18 or 17? Where did he get picked? He went at 17. So who's the best available at 17? There are a lot of guys that went after him that I thought were great picks or even steals for that matter. But yeah, I think he was the best available at 17. And even if I wasn't looking for a receiver, I'd consider taking CeeDee Lamb right there.
Yeah, my 2 cents were as soon as CeeDee Lamb was still on the board and pick number 17 came up, I thought to myself, Jerry Jones is going to take 4 seconds to make this pick. Not only was he probably the best player on the board, a guy that, we all think was wide receiver 1 or 2, but Jerry Jones loves to take the flashy, big name guy, and sometimes it works out for the better, sometimes it works out for the worse for him. In this case, it's working out for the better. CeeDee Lamb's gotten comparisons to guys like Devontae Adams or DeAndre Hopkins or guys that are already top of their class NFL receivers, and he fell all the way to pick 17. Now you pair him up with a guy like Dak, running back like Zeke, and a stack wide receiving core. This Cowboys offense is going to be pretty nuts.
One thing we've talked about, and the 2 of the teams we've talked about a lot recently are the Cardinals and the Cowboys, and they probably have the 2 best draft room locations of any team in the NFL. Jerry Jones just chilling on his $250 million super yacht, and Cliff chilling in his $5 million house up in Scottsdale. Asking you guys really quickly, which player or which person had the better draft room? Cliff, or would you say Jerry?
Cliff.
Jerry.
Visual wise, I say Cliff, but if you look at the whole yacht
overall
itself,
setup,
it's Jerry. Yeah.
Look, anybody can have a nice house, but having a $250 million yacht, come on.
That's not true. Not anybody can have a nice house.
Well, it's not that uncommon to see. That's how I should put it. It's not that uncommon to see a nice house. It is uncommon to see a $250 million yacht.
It looked like a supervillain lair.
I thought it was his basement at first. I was like, oh, there's just like big TVs, but why did it angle like that? And someone said, no, he's picking from his living room on his yacht. Aren't we all?
Oh, yay. Look at Blake.
Yeah, I'm actually live here from Cliff Kingsbury's mansion. The best part was it was 100 degrees outside, and he still had the fire
going.
He
also had the big sliding doors open too, which was really cool.
Yeah, so that
was just such a flex.
Oh man, he was wearing loafers with no socks. That's so Cliff.
You're not gonna. What was it? I think Tyrann Mathieu came out and he tweeted, "Oh, so this is why they couldn't afford to pay me."
Yeah,
because they were giving Cliff
J.J. Watt, who signed $100 million contracts. Like, one day I wish I could live in a house as nice as Cliff Kingsbury's.
There you go. So yeah, CD Lamb, he goes to Dallas. Now there are a few picks that came after. Well, we're not going to get to that. We're going to stay on the topic of wide receivers. So the Philadelphia Eagles, they come up. They're at pick 21. The three main guys are gone, so they have their choice of anyone else. Now, I think we all pretty much predicted that Justin Jefferson would be the fourth wide receiver off the board. He was kind of like the leading guy in tier 2. But the Eagles opt to go with Jalen Reagor. Now, I think all of us might have had Jalen Reagor in our first round mock. I can't really remember. I personally don't think I had him in my first round mock, but how Jalen Reagor, he goes to the Eagles at 21, and the Eagles, I think they have the graphic up that from like week 11 on, their leading wide receiver was Greg Ward, who, again, as we've talked about in previous shows, was a quarterback at the University of Houston. So they desperately need a wide receiver help. They opt to go with Jalen Reagor. So, guys, when a guy like Justin Jefferson's there on the board, or again, when you got guys like Brandon Ayuk, Michael Pittman, Denzel Mims, were you shocked to see the Eagles go with Jalen Reagor there?
Yeah, absolutely. I thought Jefferson was a clear-cut pick. I think Reagor's a good receiver, just like all these guys are, and you're not really missing out on anybody. But I thought Jefferson was high and away the next best option on the board right there. And I was shocked that they didn't take him.
Yeah, I know a lot of people were surprised by this pick. I thought it was going to be Jefferson. I didn't think Reagor was going to go much lower than this to begin with. I think I had him at 26 in our mock. And, I know he's not as big as some of the guys like Jefferson or Claypool or Pittman, but I think people think that he's going to be a solid receiver in the league. Another thing about Doug Peterson is he loves to draft offense, and he usually can groom offensive players pretty well. I mean, we saw 2 years ago how good the Eagles offense was. So, yeah, I was a little thrown off, but this is one of those ones where I'd kind of rather wait to see how it plays out.
I had Reagor as a first-round grade, but I had him all the way at pick 30 for a team that desperately needed a wide receiver. We'll get to them in a minute. But I think the reach for Reagor was they wanted his size. He's a good, big, wide receiver. He's a guy that can get up there in high point of football, but I don't think he was should have gone 21 to Philly. He would have been a late first round, early second round guy. I think it was a reach for Philly to go with him. Justin Jefferson, I had him go to 21 to Philly on my draft. I think you guys all did as well, or most of you guys did. So we had the receiver pick, but it's just, was the wrong guy, sort of like we saw with the first three taken off the board.
Yeah, again, I did think it was an interesting move on their part. I mean, again, they do more scouting than anyone. They probably like Jalen Reagor a lot more than Justin Jefferson and a lot of other guys. But I just want to touch up on the Eagles wide receiver class that they had, because not only did they take Jalen Reagor, they also got John Hightower out of Boise State in the 5th round. They also went with Quez Watkins in the 6th round, which, by the way, fun fact for you guys, Quez Watkins, I made a highlight tape for him. And
wow.
He didn't pay me the $100.
Oh,
there you go.
We know he has it now.
Yeah, now he does. I was gonna tweet at him. The good thing, he hasn't read the message yet. He used to have his messages on Red. We'll have to wait and see. But overall, the Eagles, they did have a really good draft in regards to getting all those wide receivers, getting some good guys. But overall, yeah, I was kind of just shocked that they opted to go that route. But then again, only time will tell to see how that happens. Moving on now to a few more picks. I want to talk about this one, and that's that the San Francisco 49ers, they didn't take a wide receiver with that first, pick number 13 or 14, whatever it was they had. They opted to go with
14.
defense. They go with Brandon Ayuk out of Arizona State with pick number 25. I remember Josh was really upset when that pick happened because he's going to San Francisco. So, guys, what are your thoughts on Brandon Ayuk going higher in the draft than N'Keal Harry did?
I think it's a good pick, and I thought that he was going to go there. I was hoping that he wouldn't go there, but he did, and good for him. I think maybe he's just a little more versatile than N'Keal was, because the thing about N'Keal was that he was big, he had good hands, he was strong, he was fast, but he wasn't there. And there were other receivers on that board who were by far faster than N'Keal was. And for example, Ayuk a year later, I think is even more versatile than N'Keal was, because he's a good punt returner. He's a good kick returner. I mean, you couldn't kick him the ball this year if you were an opposing team. And it got to the point where this year, for example, SC just decided to stop kicking him the ball. Oregon State decided to stop kicking the ball in his direction, both on punts and kicks. And then he can be used as a as a downfield threat and a short yardage wide receiver too. So I think that's what really jumped off the board for Ayuk and the Niners. And I think it's a good pick. It's a pretty good weapon for Garoppolo next year. And again, I think a lot of these teams in the NFC West reloaded for this year, and I think one of the teams that starts it off is San Francisco.
Yeah, I'm kind of like Josh. It kind of tastes like vinegar in my mouth to be talking about this, but yeah, that was a great pick for the Niners. I mean, this is a guy that Shanahan runs a very vertical or a lateral West Coast offense, and this is a guy that's going to fit right into that. You want to run him north and south. You want to run him east and west. He can do both. And like Josh said too about N'Keal, like N'Keal's a big body physical receiver who goes up and catches just about everything that's thrown his way. But especially nowadays in the NFL, people value YAC so much, yards after catch, that Ayuk, I wasn't shocked to see him go higher than N'Keal Harry because his yards after the catch are so ridiculous, and he turns on the jetpack so late after the catch that's so valued in today's league that, that's going to be used to the Niners' full potential for 4 or 5 years, maybe more. And this is a guy that, look, they needed some help at receiver. They had Debo, they had Emmanuel Sanders last year, is now gone, but now they kind of retool with some young, really, really fast wide receivers, and Ayuk's only going to complement to that core.
If there's any coach that can get the most out of an offensive weapon like Brandon Ayuk, it's going to be Kyle Shanahan. I mean, he's the offensive mastermind of the NFL. He's one of the best offensive minds in the league. Yes, he only threw the ball 7 times with Jimmy Garoppolo, but hey, it is what it is. But one of the big things that I can see here, like you guys have both mentioned, is the ability for Ayuk to move to play an inside receiver as a slot, or can play an outside receiver and be a deep threat. That's really unseen in the NFL. You get a lot of guys who are like, all right, a big outside receiver like N'Keal Harry, who's going to run a deep route and go on high point of football. Ayuk can go high point the football. He's not going to get as high as N'Keal was, but his yards after catch is his blessing. That's what stands him apart from everybody else in this wide receiver class. He went to 25 to San Francisco. He could have gone, his ability wise, could have gone in top 20, but I think it's a perfect fit for him, and a guy to learn from like Shanahan, and a decent quarterback like Jimmy Garoppolo. I think he's going to be a pretty good guy to help be a saving grace, you could say, for the 49ers offense.
Yeah, overall, just really good pick. You have to think that the Niners had that kind of going into it, where they had planned to trade up to probably get like Brandon Ayuk, or maybe get one of these level 2 or second tier type wide receivers. But guys, this is what I want to talk about the most. I feel like this is what everyone wants to talk about the most. This was the shocker pick, the most memorable pick. When a lot of people think of the 2020 NFL draft, this is what they're going to think of. And I still can't believe it. And that's the fact that the Titans go with Isaiah Wilson, the tackle out of Georgia. Right there, I'm kidding. I didn't get any laughs on that one, but that's okay. Jordan Love, the quarterback from Utah State. The Packers take him with pick number 26. The Packers traded up to get him. I think they were sitting at pick 30 or pick 29. They trade up to get Jordan Love. Aaron Rodgers is still there, guys. Aaron Rodgers is still healthy. Aaron Rodgers is still under contract through 2023. The Packers just went to the NFC Championship game with Aaron Rodgers, and now they're pretty much going up, getting a guy in the first round that's going to back him up. But a lot of people said this is similar to the Aaron Rodgers Brett Favre thing. It's not. Aaron Rodgers in that class was arguably the best quarterback in the class without a doubt. Jordan Love's not. Brett Favre was also like kind of hinting he's going to retire soon. Aaron Rodgers is not. So Aaron Rodgers, we know this is a guy where he's wanted them to draft offensive weapons for years, and they haven't done so. What were your thoughts when the Packers drafted Jordan Love in the first round?
It's one thing if the pick is already there and he's still available and they take him. It's another thing when you trade up to get it. I don't know. I mean, it's not. There were better things they could have done there. I think that a lot of people had some misgivings about Jordan Love. I know that Lyle obviously had him as a top 10 pick. But some people were kind of thinking that he was probably going to fall a little bit, or some people were hesitant on taking Love, especially above Herbert, for example, because some people thought that, he threw picks. but he has a high upside too. So maybe the thinking here is, okay, well, Rodgers is getting old, but he's not done yet. Why not take a quarterback here, have him kind of have Rodgers maybe breed him a little bit for the next couple of years. And then when Rodgers is done, you've got an elite quarterback waiting in the shadows, ready to take over. It's not a bad idea if that's the case, but also you could argue that maybe it's a waste of a first-round pick.
Yeah, I mean, look, if the Packers think that there's a quarterback down the road that they could have taken in 2 years or something like that, then maybe this was a bit of a waste of a pick. I know a lot of people think the Packers had the worst draft, and they very well might have. But honestly, if you ask me, I think what made it the worst draft for them were some of the picks that came after this first round. Look, here's the thing about Jordan Love is I know people thought that Rodgers was going to go 1 when he was a rookie and in the draft, but I was just reading the other day about like all the naysayers saying how Patrick Mahomes is such a project, and Stephen A. Smith said, "What on earth is Andy Reid doing taking Patrick Mahomes over to Deshaun Watson?" Look, the truth is, I've said this about Jordan Love. He has to go to the right place to succeed. If he had gone to Las Vegas, he was probably going to be a bust and he wouldn't last as a starter very long. If he goes to Green Bay and he learns from Matt LaFleur and he learns from Aaron Rodgers, then in 2-3 years when Rodgers is kind of done, I know he's under contract, but I've said this on a previous show. If you look past the basic Aaron Rodgers just on paper stats this year, he was not like phenomenal. You could start to see the decline in his game this year and last year as well when he battled the injury. So if the Packers are trying to look into build for the future and let a guy sit for a couple of years and learn, then this could be a pick that turns out really well, especially because Love has all the tools in the world. The X factor here is Aaron Rodgers going to even be willing to teach this guy? Because for those who don't know, Aaron Rodgers is not the world's friendliest person. And we know he had a little bit of a problem with the Packers taking Love here instead of getting him a weapon by going wide receiver. So this is kind of the throw up in the air, like total mystery pick of the draft that it could so far go one way or so far go the other. We don't know. But look, if it works to the Packers' favor, this is going to look like a phenomenal pick in a couple of years.
I just have a question for you guys. Which Jordan does Aaron Rodgers hate more, Jordan Love or Jordan Rodgers?
That's a
Rodgers.
great question.
I heard they reconciled. Is that true?
I doubt it.
I mean, you were a bachelor. You were a bachelor guy before we were, so I feel like you would know.
Hey, he was on a Bachelor Listen to Your Heart last night.
Aaron Rodgers.
No, Jordan.
No, Jordan.
Yeah, no. Aaron Rodgers.
It was him and Jordan Love together.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have not watched Listen to Your Heart.
No. So one of the big things that I could tell in this draft is there was a good quarterback sitting there at 30, and there was a good quarterback sitting there again when the Packers picked in the second round. They could have taken a guy like Jalen Hurts in the second round and been just okay with taking him in the second round, or a guy like Jake Fromm or Jacob Eason, just saying the next couple of quarterbacks that went right after him. Is there that much difference between Jordan Love in the first round or Jacob Eason in the fourth or one of these guys in later rounds? I say no. So I think it was a waste of a first round pick. They got their quarterback of the future. And Lyle, to answer your question, I don't think Rodgers is going to mentor anybody. It doesn't matter who it is, if it's his replacement, if Rodgers is retired, but it does give Jordan Love an opportunity to learn from, not be mentored by, but to learn from Aaron Rodgers, one of the greatest to ever do it. So he's able to sit there, be in the film room, understand how Aaron Rodgers breaks down film, understand how Aaron Rodgers goes about his daily life in the facility, in the game, in practice, and everything like that. And it's going to pick up the mannerisms, hopefully, what we can see. But I think the biggest mistake the Packers made all weekend long was releasing the best quarterback to ever be on their roster in Manny Wilkins.
Yes,
you know,
agreed.
And when I couldn't get through that all serious, but one of the big things that I heard, I said 3 words when the Packers picked Jordan Love, and they were this.
Oh my God.
my goodness.
Oh,
It was
I
didn't know. I was messing around. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to ruin it.
I was thinking of another
Oh my
3 words.
goodness.
I said another 3 words out loud.
Yeah, you did. Those can't be. They can be repeated on here.
Technically,
I said it
they
last
can.
week. I said it.
Why this pick?
Yeah, why this pick? So I think
What
listen.
you doing?
Yeah, that one too.
I is confused. So one of the things that you can see now, like I said a minute ago, is Rodgers isn't going to take the time out of his day to mentor another quarterback to come replace him, especially if he's under contract, like Blake said, through 2023. But what it does give Jordan Love an opportunity to do is learn from and study Aaron Rodgers, not the other way around, not have Aaron Rodgers teach everything to Jordan Love.
Yeah, I mean, still, it's a very questionable pick. Time will tell. We'll see what the Packers do. But I mean, again, I know Aaron Rodgers is still on the decline. I know he didn't have as good of a year last year. He's still, a top maybe 12 quarterback.
He's still Aaron Rodgers.
He's still Aaron Rodgers. This is the guy where, he got you to the NFC Championship. So only time will tell. There was a name that Brady mentioned I want to get to, because I do want to go over just like a few kind of like second rounders that happened just to discuss. And that's the fact that the Eagles go with Jalen Hurts in the second round. And when you were talking about teams, if you were to like have to list maybe 5 or 6 teams coming into this draft that would not draft a quarterback, like you're putting money on it to guarantee they don't draft a quarterback, I feel like the Eagles would have been near the top. Carson Wentz, he's signed to that huge extension. I know he kind of is injury prone, but the Eagles, they draft Jalen Hurts. Now, there were some people that were kind of talking about maybe the Eagles wanting to use Jalen Hurts as kind of like a Taysom Hill type of guy. I don't know if they've come out and they've confirmed whether or not that's the case, or they were saying, no, he's going to be our backup quarterback. But the Eagles, going with your second round pick on a guy like Jalen Hurts, where again, barring injury, Carson Wentz, he's not going anywhere anytime soon. I just want to know what your guys' thoughts were on the Eagles going with Jalen Hurts.
The Eagles this offseason also re-signed their backup quarterback, Nate Sudfeld, to a 1-year deal. Yes, it's only a 1-year deal, but they have another quarterback already in the room who they brought back for this season. So I thought it was a little befuddling in that sort.
Yeah, I definitely think that I was a little befuddled too, Brady.
Thanks, Josh.
Of course. They want to run some Philly special stuff with him. If they want to turn him into a Taysom Hill, fine. I think that if that's something that they were interested in doing, okay, so hold on one second. Where was their next pick?
Who, Philly?
Yeah. Because where was their next pick? So their next pick was third round, 103rd overall. I don't know if that's a reach, but there were other quarterbacks on the board around that time that we thought would not be there at that time. So, I mean, I think it's realistic to think that maybe, just maybe, if they really wanted Jalen Hurts, they could have got him later. If that was something they wanted to do. The next quarterback taken was Jacob Eason at 122 to the Colts. Okay. So, and what? That's 4th round, right?
Yeah, that's 4th round.
Okay, because they had 127 too in the 4th round. So I'll say the same thing that I said for a majority of the Rams pick in this draft was I'm fine with the pick. I'm totally fine with the pick. I don't like which pick they used to get Jalen Hurts. It's a fine pick if you want to get him in the 3rd round. I just think it's kind of a waste of a 2nd round pick. And that's no disrespect to Jalen Hurts. They just don't need him.
I will say this, Jalen Hurts was an absolute wagon in college. And so now we're going to be able to see absolute wagon. So now we can see what he'll do. I don't even know if he can learn from a guy like Carson Wentz. I mean, has Carson Wentz played enough to be able to teach other people quarterback in the NFL?
Yeah.
Look,
Exactly.
So full disclosure, I have way more of a problem with this pick. In fact, like 100 times more of a problem with this pick than the Packers taking Jordan Love at 26. Rodgers is in his 30s. Oh, yeah. Rodgers is in his 30s. Again, he's going to start to decline, and he's under contract for 3 more years. Guys, Carson Wentz is 27 years old, and 2 years ago was going to be the MVP before he got hurt. Like, and you're using a 2nd round pick on a guy who I see today, they're planning to like maybe play running back for like half the time. This pick made no sense in the world to me. Like, you're drafting either a backup quarterback in the 2nd round or a guy that maybe you want to flex out and play a couple of different positions. I know the Raiders are doing that with Lynn Bowden. Lynn Bowden went a lot later than this. Like, I know Jalen Hurts is fast and I know he can run, but like Blake said, this is like for a team that has a young, good, solid quarterback, this pick makes almost no sense in the world for a team that had a lot of other needs. They could have taken another wide receiver. They could have gone somewhere on defense. They could have done a lot of things. This is about the last thing I expected them to do. This was the head scratcher of the draft for me.
Lynn Bowden, I think, overall is a better pick in general because he's a more versatile player.
Yeah, exactly. Like Lynn Bowden actually did other things where Hurts is a quarterback. He only played quarterback in college.
Yeah.
Hurts also said during the combine, he was asked, are you willing to play another position? And we've seen some of the best athletes be asked this in years prior. Lamar Jackson in specific, who now is league MVP, Madden cover. It's are you able to play, or do you want to play another position? He said, listen, I'll do anything to help the team, but I'm a quarterback. And that's been the same answer every year. And what position did Lamar Jackson play this year? He played quarterback. So listen,
Right, but
I think it was a reach of
Flacco.
No, I know. I also think it's a reach of a pick. I'm not saying it wasn't. Like I said earlier, they could have gotten another quarterback that was a similar tier quarterback later in the draft. But it seems like all the best athletes and some of the best athletes every year in the draft at quarterback are asked, what else are you going to play? And he straight up said, I am a quarterback. So what do you play him at? Quarterback? No, you can't. You got to find something else to play him. Philly also signed another quarterback, former college quarterback Khalil Tate, as a wide receiver. So you got athletes all over the place.
That's another one that I thought was weird because it's more than just signing Jalen Hurts. It's now also signing Khalil Tate, who is another athletic college quarterback, to what could potentially be the same role. So those don't make a whole lot of sense to me, not only to bring in one of them, but then two.
Well, Tate's just an undrafted free agent. So if he comes in and impresses, then he's like at the back of the roster. But yeah.
Yeah, I understand that totally. So why not do it? But you also went out and you spent a pick on Jalen Hurts to do something that could be very similar. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make sense. We don't know what the Eagles are doing, but that was another questionable one. We're gonna get to our teams and overall pretty much just saying how we liked it. We don't have to like go in depth on each pick our teammate. We can just list some of the picks we like and overall what we thought. But I quickly just wanted to over guys just some ones like some picks that happened in the second round I really liked. I really like DeAndre Swift going to the Lions. I thought that was an absolute steal of a pick. The fact that the Patriots at pick 37 go with a guy out of Lenoir Rhyne. I didn't even know that was the college. Lenoir Rhyne or Lenoir Rhyne, however you pronounce that the right way. Jonathan Taylor going to the Colts. I absolutely love that pick. I'm sure Brady likes that pick as well. That was good. Laviska Shenault going to the Jaguars at pick 42. I thought that was a really good steal. Grant Delpit going to the Browns. That's another really good steal right there. Chase Claypool, I think he's going to be a great fit with the Steelers. I really like that one right there. Cam Akers replacing, I guess, Todd Gurley with the Rams right there. And J.K. Dobbins going to the Ravens. Those are right. And also Denzel Mims falling to pick 59. I think some of us had him like kind of near the end of the first round. He almost fell to the third round. So that was interesting. I just want to know before we get to like our teams, if there were just any other picks out there that you just really liked, or the fit worked, or some guys that just fell you didn't expect to fall.
I've got one, and it's one number repeated 3 times, and that's 222. And I think you guys can sort of agree with me that this is going to be a good fit. That's Eno Benjamin of the Cardinals. I mean, a 7th round steal for the Cardinals and taking Eno Benjamin, the guy we saw play the last, I'd say, 3 years because he barely played the first year. So a guy like Eno Benjamin being able to stay in Arizona, the running back core has sort of been dismantled, and he's a guy that's able to run through and is very smart with the football. I think that was one of the biggest steals, not just, our ASU connection that we have. I think in general, that was an awesome steal in the draft. And I'll leave my Colts stuff for another couple minutes.
Well, then I'll jump in with the Colts stuff here, man. I love that Mike Pittman pick. Those 2 picks right there of Pittman and then Jonathan Taylor, I think were 2 fantastic picks. They give Phil some options offensively. And again, like Pittman's a guy that I had in the second round, but if he were to go late in the first round and was one of those receivers, I do not see anything wrong with that either, because not only is he one of the faster receivers in the draft, he's also like 6'5", like 230, 240 or something like that. Like he's a big dude too. And he's got great hands. He's the biggest wide receiver USC's had drafted in like the last 10 years. And that includes a class of Robert Woods, Juju Smith, Nelson Aguilar. I think that's Marquise Lee.
6'4", 220, by the way. 6'4", 220.
6'4", 220. He's still one of the bigger receivers in this draft. And for the weapons that he has and his abilities, for his size, I think that's a great pick.
Also signing Hot Rod as a free agent.
Yeah, Rodrigo Blankenship, he was the favorite to be the first kicker off the board, and he goes undrafted. Also, one final thing, Jake Fromm. There was a kicker and there was a long snapper drafted before Jake Fromm.
Again, I mean, I really thought that the Patriots would take him. And the Patriots had like, I don't know, a bajillion chances to. And they were like, no. Tank for Trev.
Brian Lewerke.
Ryan Lewerke, right.
We were praying that Jake Fromm would go to the Rams, but alas, he's Buffalo bound to back up Josh Allen. All right, guys, you want to talk about how our teams did?
Yeah.
All right, and for those of you that are asking in the comment section, we're going to be doing the Q&A when we're done going over our teams and kind of our favorite teams. So probably 15 to 20 minutes. We'll have enough time to answer maybe 5 to 10 questions. So if you guys have any college football related questions, NFL draft related questions, again, any just fun questions that'll make the four of us think and give some fun responses. For those of you that want to know how your questions get picked, ask us the more unique, clever ones that you think we'll have fun answers to, not like, what are your thoughts on this or that or something? Try to come up with some clever, unique ones. So as I mentioned, 15, 20 minutes will be getting to the Q&A. We'll probably have enough time to answer 5 to 10 or so. But guys, as I mentioned, we have 4 favorite teams, and Josh has left the chat. Who knows what happened there? We have 4 favorite teams, and we're just going to get, like I said, down to go in depth on our picks, maybe just what your favorite pick was and overall which kind of grade you give their draft. So since I guess Josh is coming back, I don't know what's going on here. Josh, you there, bud?
I don't know what's happening, and I don't even know what my background is, but here we are.
Yeah, I don't know what that background is either, but whatever it is. So, Josh, you're a Rams fan.
This is Peter Warren from Northwestern.
Josh, I think your computer's joining as well, right? Okay, Lyle, we're going to go to you while Josh figures this out. You're a Seahawks fan.
Hello?
Sorry, Josh, you're getting skipped right now. Lyle, what were your thoughts on the Seahawks overall draft?
Okay, so everybody knows what I said last week, obviously. And
we documented it.
What?
We documented it, yes.
For those of you that missed last week's show, Lyle said he doesn't want, well, first off, he doesn't want the Seahawks to draft running back, in which they did.
And no Big 12 defensive players. So, yeah, that's what I said.
Players.
Yeah, so they take Jordan Brooks. So, obviously, like, as soon as the pick happened, gut reaction is, what are you doing? And then, like I formally do, I spent the next 24 hours reading every possible thing or watching every possible thing on this guy. And it turns out I might have jumped the gun on this a little bit. Now, I will say he has a trend to break because there are not a whole lot of good Big 12 defensive players in the league in the last 10 years. I know somebody commented Gerald McCoy. He was the same year as Earl Thomas in 2010. So since that draft, there hasn't been a whole lot of good ones. But it turns out, so all the NFL teams had Brooks graded way, way higher than all these draft analysts. In fact, there was one mystery team that had him ahead of Isaiah Simmons, and almost everybody had him as their second linebacker, ahead of Queen, ahead of Murray, ahead of everybody. So this is what NFL teams had on their draft board. And the Seahawks said once they couldn't trade their pick, this was the top guy on their board ahead of Queen. So Queen went the next pick. We're going to see how this plays out in the next 5-10 years. But Brooks is so good east and west. This guy's as fast as any linebacker in the draft. In fact, he ran such a good 40, but he was hurt for it too. And people think he would have run faster if he had actually been fully healthy at this combine. And people say he can't play coverage. Well, it turns out he can really play coverage. He just got put into a role that wasn't fit for him in 2019. And in 2018, he was really, really good in coverage. So John Schneider is high as ever on this guy. He thinks he's going to be a stud. He also gets to learn from maybe the best mentor you could possibly have and a future Hall of Famer and now best middle linebacker in the game, Bobby Wagner. And aside from that, you know what? They addressed some needs. They took 2 edge rushers. They took Damian Lewis, the guard from LSU, and they took a couple of receivers late. So we'll see how this draft plays out. If people didn't give him the highest grade in the world, that's fine. 2012, the draft with Bobby Wagner and Russell Wilson was given an F. So I'm going to let this class play out and see how they do.
I do have a quick treat for you, Lyle. Let's take a listen to this.
No running backs and not a single Big 12 defensive player. Those are my 2 requirements. Yeah, I just said I didn't want to take a Big 12 defensive player.
I know. I just wanted to replay it from last week.
Oh. Well, yeah, it turned out it might be okay.
Blake, you're muted.
Sorry. What are your thoughts on how the Rams did for their draft?
Where do I begin? Like I said about the Jalen Hurts pick, I really do like the Cam Akers pick for the Rams. I don't necessarily like where they got him, but just in general, the Rams had a lot of picks that I like, and I'm glad they took that guy. That's a great pick. But based off of their needs and based off of where they took that guy, I don't think it's a good pick. I'm fine with the Akers pick. They let Gurley go, and that leaves John Kelly, who's completely untested, Darrell Henderson, who had a couple of good runs last year, and Like that's pretty. I think he had like 3 good runs early in the season. I literally do not remember him playing outside of those few carries. And then of course Malcolm Brown, who's like a veteran at this point. He's like 26, I want to say 27, but he's been in the league a while. And like they're all kind of untested to be like a top tier guy. So I like that they got Cam Akers because he's a versatile back too that they can implement into the offense. Fine. If you take an offensive lineman 5 picks later at 57. And when they took an offensive lineman in the 7th round, they took an offensive lineman in the 7th round. That should have been their top priority, okay? And you know who was on the board at 52? Oh, and at 57? Cushenberry and Jones. I was so mad when Cushenberry got taken in the 3rd round, 1 pick before the Rams. I was absolutely livid, okay? I was so mad. But, like, Van Jefferson, great pick, but not at 57 and not for the Rams. Okay, you already have Cooper Kupp, you have Robert Woods, and then you have Josh Reynolds, and you also have 2 pass catching tight ends in Higbee and then Gerald Everett. So then, off of that point, why go out and get another pass catching tight end in Bryson Hopkins? Like
we respect Bryson Hopkins.
Of course we do. Of course we do. He's a great football player. It's a great pick, but not for where they got him and not for the Rams because you already have Tyler Higbee and Gerald Everett. And then just for S's and G's, they've got Johnny Munt that they throw into block half the time. Why are you taking Bryson Hopkins? I mean, like the rest of their picks. So Terrell Lewis, out of the linebacker from Bama, by far the best pick of the draft for the Rams. Absolutely, like that's a great pick for the 3rd round.
Doug, he might never play.
He's got to be healthy. That's the thing. That's number 1 is he needs to be healthy. But if he's healthy and he plays, that's by far the best pick for the Rams.
That's fair.
But like Jordan Fuller in the 6th round is good. Tremaine Ankrum in the 7th round is fine. Like I'm glad they got some of these guys, but man, like, God, dude, I like Bryson Hopkins. I thought he was fun to watch this year, but that's just a brainless pick for me.
I'm going to DM Bryson Hopkins and ask him to come on a show in the coming weeks. Like, okay, for those of you who don't know, we were going to interview Bryson Hopkins like months ago, but then he got like violently ill and couldn't come on and do the show because he like lost his voice. So we're going to get him on a future show and we're going to play the clip of Josh going, Bryson Hopkins?
Again, I'm glad he's a Ram. I like him
though.
I know, but like that's the thing is like great. You go out and you get these talented guys, but just like the Rams were last year, heading into last season, if you look at just the guys on the Rams offensive line, you're like, all right, their offensive line's fine. There is no depth. So just like this past year, if you have at least one guy go down, you're done. You're done. Like the Rams had like an injury early in the season. It's like, oh great, there goes the whole season. And after that injury, like they had like 3 great wins to start the year. They beat the Panthers. They convincingly beat the Saints, who I thought were going to be like a phenomenal team last year. And they were another good team. And the Rams beat up on them at the Coliseum. There was that one like controversial like touchdown, that defensive touchdown for the Saints. But like it was a convincing win for the Rams. Then they had injuries on their offensive line, and they were horrendous the rest of the season because they have no depth. So like,
So I'll ask you, Josh, because I wanted to have Lyle do this as well. So have you go first, then him. What grade do you give the Rams draft overall?
If I'm not a Rams fan, I give them a B. But as a Rams fan, again, I like the picks. I don't like where they took them. I'm giving them a C. I'm giving them a flat C. I think a lot of people on the outside would give them a B plus or a B, which is fine. But again, the way that I look at it is they're an offensive line injury away from being terrible. And then look at what the rest of the NFC West did this year.
Yeah, I'll give the Seahawks a B. Like I said, the fact that they address needs with guard and edge rusher, and then again with Brooks. Like I know he's a defensive player from the Big 12, but if there's any place for them to be drafting a Big 12 defensive player position-wise, it's linebacker. Like John Schneider has been a god at drafting linebackers. So I'll give him a B.
All right, Brady, let's hear your thoughts on the Colts draft, who I think all of us agreed was, well, in the second round at least, they easily had the best second round of any team out there.
I mean, if you look at a guy, Colin Coward, on last week on his shows, he interviewed a couple draft prospects, and one of them was Michael Pittman, one of them was Jonathan Taylor. And he said, any team that is lucky enough to land one of these players is in for a treat. Well, guess what? We got both of them. And so I am perfectly okay with it. I am thrilled. I saw Pittman play for a couple years. He's a freak receiver. Like Josh said earlier, his intangibles are awesome. His speed, his hands, his size, everything. He's 6'2", 220. He's a big guy. He's able to go play opposite of a T.Y. Hilton in a wide receiver role, but also a guy that the people forget the Colts have is Paris Campbell. He was hurt this last year. He's a speedy, quick receiver and is able to play there. If he can stay healthy, your 4 wide receivers will be a guy like Michael Pittman Jr., Paris Campbell, Chester Rogers, who is another one of our receivers, and then T.Y. Hilton. But the Jonathan Taylor pick, to me, at first I thought, why did we get a running back? We don't need a running back. But then again, it's Jonathan Taylor. So Marlon Mac is the guy you have in your backfield right now. He played really well this last year. He was one of the top fantasy running backs in all of the NFL, but he's in a contract year right now. You have a guy like Nyheim Hines, who's a younger running back, but the prestige that Jonathan Taylor holds in college football, his accolades that he has, I think you can't go wrong with that pick. So very good pick there for round 2. Excuse me. Round 3, Julian Blackmun, the safety from Utah. I think he's his closing speed is ridiculous. I don't know if you guys saw the film they played of him when they showed him. His closing speed is unreal. He got hurt. He got the ACL injury in the Pac-12 championship game against Oregon. But I think this pick of Julian Blackman's good. And then Jacob Eason at 122, that's a safe pick for a quarterback. Hey, Philly, take a hint. You don't take a quarterback at 57 if you have one already. And the Colts, in my mind, they have their quarterback for this year. That's Phillip Rivers. If anything happens to Phillip, I think they're in good enough hands of Jacoby Brissett for now. But a guy like Jacob Eason to learn under Phillip Rivers for a year, a very similar style quarterback, like I talked about in the beginning of the show with Justin Herbert, in comparison to Phillip Rivers, I think Eason's a very similar guy as well. So listen, I'm really happy with this draft class for the Colts. Got a guy from Ball State and Indiana guy, so we've always seemed to take just one of those every year and throw him on the offensive line, but he's going to be good there. And they took another receiver, Desmond Patman, from Washington State, so it's going to be interesting to see. Yeah, he's going to – and that was a 6th-round pick, so yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they can do with him, if they probably turn him into a special teamer. But, very happy overall. And then the undrafted free agent, Hot Rod, Rodrigo Blankenship, it's interesting. You bring in a guy to compete with what we have now. It's going to be fun to see. Funny enough, when I was at the Combine, I did a photo shoot with 2 players. One was Jonathan Taylor, one was Hot Rod. Now they're both Colts. Who would have thought?
So what grade overall do you give it?
I'm giving them a B+ or an A-. I think there were some things they could have done better. I think, instead of taking a defensive tackle or, another wide receiver, you could have gone offensive line depth. That's one thing they need. Is they were the only team in the NFL to start the same 5 offensive linemen every game. They have arguably one of the best offensive line cores in the NFL, but you need depth at that position just in case something happens to someone. So I think that's the one hindrance on the draft class from Chris Ballard and the Colts crew was the offensive line depth.
All right. Mine, I can make mine quick because the Saints only had 4 picks. They technically only had 3 picks until the very end when they decided to trade back in. They take Cesar Ruiz out of Michigan, who a lot of people were very high on. I initially hated the pick because I thought the Saints needed to go with a linebacker. Patrick Queen was still on the board. Jordan Brooks was still on the board, as Lyle mentioned. So I hated the pick. Then I slept on it, and I thought it was a great pick because this guy, a lot of coaches and GMs and everyone loved him. A lot of people were very high on him. And as we've seen, and Brady can attest to this, if you have an amazing offensive line, a lot of great things can happen. So the Saints, they continue to build that offensive line. Then the Saints' next pick wasn't until pick 74. They finally get their linebacker in Zach Bond, who I thought was an easily round 2 type linebacker. They get him in the 3rd round. I thought that's an absolute steal. I thought he was a top 5 linebacker in this class. So I'm glad they get their linebacker. I really like Zach Bond. And my favorite pick out of all is Adam Trautman, tight end out of Dayton. They get him right at the end of the 3rd round. Guys, I know some people out there had him as their tight end 1. I personally did have him as my tight end 1. I thought he was the best tight end in this class. He was right in him and Colt Kmet. I thought him and Colt Kmet were 1 and 2, but I just would have given the edge to Adam Dahlman. What did I just say? Yeah, Adam Trautman. I said Dahlman. I really love this pick because the Saints, they need a tight end. Jared Cook probably has 1 or 2 or 3 years left in him at best. I don't know if he's the Saints' long-term answer. I thought Trautman was a phenomenal pick. I was shocked that he slits into the 3rd round because, again, a lot of people had him as kind of like maybe a 2nd round, maybe early 3rd round type of guy. So Adam Trautman, a great pick for the Saints. And then they come in at the very end to get quarterback Tommy Stevens out of Mississippi State, who essentially is, and I think he even came out and said this, he wants to be Taysom Hill 2.0. So when Taysom Hill leaves the Saints in a few years or so, Tommy Stevens, he's going to fit that Taysom Hill role because he's now quarterback number 4 because the Saints went out and signed Jameis Winston today. I love that signing, boy do I. But I like the pick. Overall, I think I got to give the Saints like a B+ or an A- just because, I mean, they weren't flashy picks, they weren't sexy picks, but they were smart picks. And overall, I thought they got extremely good value. So we're going to go to our Q&A in about 2 or 3 minutes, guys. But I just wanted, or what is it Brady wants to say?
Real quick, wasn't Trautman the first Dayton player drafted?
I believe he was the first. I believe he was the first player from Dayton ever drafted. We've lost Josh again. So, guys, a quick fun thing we're going to do before we go to our Q&A. Well, I asked everyone to pick one team that's not their own and just say who you thought had the best draft. You can just say who the team was, and you can say like what your favorite pick was or what your 2 favorite picks were, and pretty much why you just thought it was your favorite. So again, we've gone so in depth. We don't need to be talking about the 5 or 6 picks this team made. And you can just say you thought they had the best draft, and these 1 or 2 players are the reason why. So Josh, we'll kick it off to you. Who do you think, aside from the Rams, of course, had the best draft?
Well, one reason why I don't think, or I'm not thinking super highly of the Rams right now is partly because I think the Arizona Cardinals had the best draft. Obviously, going in to the draft, you go out and you get DeAndre Hopkins, and that's phenomenal. And not only do the Cardinals get what they need in an offensive lineman later in the draft, but like we said, Simmons was available at 8. When the Cardinals were taking. So I think that's a no-brainer. That's not only take the best pick available, but that's somebody that can bolster their already developing defense. So that was an absolute no-brainer. One of my roommates is a Cardinals fan. He was ecstatic. And then they get the offensive lineman later that they need. They take Josh Jones in the 3rd round, which I think is a steal. They go defensive tackle, which they need. They get 2 D tackles. And of course, we talked about earlier. I love the Eno Benjamin pick because I knew that Eno was going to fall on the draft boards. I did not think he would fall all the way late 7th round or mid 7th round. And for the Cardinals to go out and take a guy who is already very well liked and respected in Arizona, in Phoenix and Tempe, that is, because he is by far the most hated man in Tucson. He's a great runner. He churns his legs like no other. He's got that spin move that they talked about constantly on the draft. And you know what? He can catch passes out of the backfield if they need him to. So if you toss him into that rotation with Edmonds and Kenyon Drake, I think they got a good backfield. And their backfield now looks like what I know Lyle likes about an NFL backfield. There aren't a whole lot of guys that are eating up your entire salary cap right there. And it's a couple of guys that you can get relatively cheap and that are reliable. And I think the Cardinals have got something going here.
So I went with the Dolphins. And first and foremost, I know we talked about Tua, so I'll keep it short and sweet with him. If he's healthy, this is the best pick in the draft because he went 5 spots lower than he should have, and that would have been the number 1 pick if he were healthy. So if he stays healthy, this is a steal. What I love about what the Dolphins did is they, like I like to see teams do when they rebuild, invest in their trenches. Look, I know people think that a guy like Austin Jackson might be a little bit of a project, or like their corner that they took, Noah Igbenogany, might be a project if I said that right. But these are 2 guys who I think they think are really raw and have a chance to be really good. So, and then even when it got to the 2nd round, it was trenches, pass rush, O-line, pass rush, O-line. That was what the Dolphins did. Instead of wasting a 2nd round pick taking a running back, they invested in their trenches, and then they trade for a guy like Matt Breida, who last year averaged 5 yards a carry with the Niners. And again, you stick somebody back there who's competent and deserves to be in the league, it's probably going to be similar production to anybody they would have taken in the 2nd round. So I think the Dolphins went about this very smart. They get Tua, they get him all the protection they need, and they get him a feasible running back.
For me, I talked about this team earlier in the show, and that's the Carolina Panthers. What we talked about is, all right, do you take Simmons, you take Brown, you take Simmons, you take Brown. Panthers took Brown. Like I said, all 7 of their draft picks, first time in the modern era, a team took all defensive players with every single one of their picks, and it was 7 of them. For me, the steal on this Panthers draft was Gross Matos at 38. I had him in our mock draft at 29 in the 1st round. So falling essentially 10 spots later was a solid pickup for this Carolina Panthers team. Like we talked about, they lost their middle linebacker, Luke Kuechly. They lost Gerald McCoy up front. you have two solid defensive players who are able to, like Lyle said, start in the trenches. It all starts up front. So I think that's a great pick for them. And Jeremy Chin at 64. This is a guy that really no one's heard of. It's from Southern Illinois. Funny enough, I've been playing against Jeremy Chin since fourth grade here in Indiana. I've played against him like my whole life. And in fourth grade, we could look at this kid and say, yep, this kid is an athlete. This kid is special. And he's a freak of nature. So he's going to be a solid safety pick in their secondary. So I think they got a solid defensive core. And like I said, Matt Rule is a defensive coach, and that showed for sure in the draft this year.
I like it. BK always with the indie stories. Those are always good.
Always.
I really like what the Ravens did. I thought they had a really good draft. Patrick Queen, the fact that he fell to them at 28, I thought that was an absolute steal. Then getting J.K. Dobbins at pick 55. I know a lot of people thought he was the best running back in this class, so he'll just slide in right behind Mark Ingram. And the fact that they went out, they picked some really good receivers up. Devin Duvernay, who's got insane speed from Texas. James Prochet out of SMU, who finished his career with better numbers than Cortland Sutton. A lot of people were really high in James Prochet. I thought he was going to be like a third round, maybe a fourth round kind of guy. And he goes in the sixth round. They also get Malik Harrison, linebacker out of Ohio State. So overall, I was just very, very impressed with how they did. Now, pretty much Brady's gone. Lyle turned his mic or his camera off. So Josh, I don't know if there's some inside joke going on, but I don't think our viewers can, it's because it's only on me right now. For our viewers, there's like a screen of the four of us. Brady's gone. Lyle's gone. Actually, Lyle's back right now. So
Hi, Lyle.
Gosh.
Yeah, we're good.
So Brady's gone. All right, guys. I've been talking about the Q&A, but little did I forget completely. I've been pitching this Q&A this entire time. We were going to be doing a NFL draft style trivia quiz that Josh prepared for himself. And pretty much we've been talking about pushing it back for next week. And we're already having such a great show. We got a lot of people in here right now. Not only are you fans going to be getting a Q&A where you guys can ask us Q&A questions, I'll go through, I'll pick a few we can answer. We're going to get some bonus content tonight on the show. Josh spent hours, he said, hours pulling together this NFL draft trivia. So we're going to get through some Q&A questions. And then after that, maybe again, five minutes or so on Q&A. And then we're going to get to Josh's NFL draft trivia. Josh, I don't think this is going to be trivia that lasts like as long as other trivia, right? We could probably get through maybe like 15, 20 minutes, or do you think
I'm sticking to a 30-second time limit for answers this week.
All right, perfect. So for everyone that's watching, you get some bonus content tonight because why not? So guys, we're going to get to some Q&A questions right now.
Because why, Blake?
Because why not, Brady? Because why not? So again, if you guys have any questions about college football, NFL, everyday life, fun questions you'd like to hear us answer, let us know in the live chat right now. We get to those. We'll have about 5 to 10 minutes on Q&As, and then we are going to get to the college or the NFL draft trivia quizzes that Josh has put together. Our first question, this came earlier. This came from MC Mets 23, who wants to know, what shows have you guys been watching during the quarantine? I think this was a question we got a few weeks ago, but in case people didn't hear that, what shows or even movies have you guys been checking out?
I watched Sunderland Till I Die on Netflix about a disgraced Premier League team in England that has since been relegated twice. That was really good. I think I mentioned that before. And now I am catching up on All American. I started watching it last summer, watched the first 4 episodes, and then got busy with baseball stuff during the summer. So restarted that and am now 2 episodes into season 2, and it's really good. Highly recommend.
Yeah, I think we talked about this before, but so I'm now on season 6 of Game of Thrones, and I'm watching it for the second time. And last May, I watched it in the span of a whole month. And you want to talk about binge watching? I sped through it, sped times 10 because I only had a month to do it. And then I was heading off for the summer. I literally finished the last episode 7 hours before I was set to go on a cross-country road trip. So it was super fast. And now I'm watching it back for the second time because I haven't gotten a chance to do so. And you realize how much stuff you can miss with all the names and all the different places and all that. So I've been pretty much dedicated to that. And I know we talked about it a couple of shows ago. We watched a bunch of old sporting events. So it's basically been that stuff.
None of you mentioned the Last Dance MJ documentary, so I'm bringing that up. That's been my favorite thing so far. I mean, it is just awesome. Being able to hear all the stories from everybody from top to bottom, from Michael Jordan to Joe Klein on the roster. It's unreal. I can't wait for the LeBron one and the Kobe one and the Peyton Manning one and all these different ones that come out in the next couple of years. I recently started on I think it was on Netflix, I'm watching Community. It's one of the old NBC shows. It's got Joel McHale, who played football at Washington. He was a tight end at the University of Washington, for those that don't know. Lyle sitting there nodding like, yeah, I know. Ken Jeong from The Hangover. I mean, Donald Glover, you guys know him as Childish Gambino, and Chevy Chase. So awesome cast there. And I mean, very funny, very good show there. But the Last Dance documentary is just the real deal. Can't wait for ESPN to do more of these 10-parters. It started with the OJ Made in America, and now the Last Dance. I think that's the way to do it.
Hearing them just drop the F word continuously.
Oh, it's awesome. It's awesome.
Fantastic. I was saying this. I mean, if I had like a 7 or 8 year old kid and I'm watching this, I'd say, son, we're watching this. You cover your ears because actually, maybe if you're like 4 or 5, I think who knows? People raise their kids differently. I just think I said this a week or two ago, guys, but MJ and I are currently binging One Tree Hill. If you guys have any time, you guys got to invest some time. Josh, it's a perfect show for you and Tessa to watch.
She's already seen it. I've been there on my phone.
It is so good. It is so good. So for all you guys out there that have girlfriends, yeah, you know what? For her birthday, for Valentine's Day, don't get her a gift. Give her the gift of saying, "Hey, babe, why don't we watch Tree Hill? Why don't we watch?"
No. I was half expecting a Manscaped ad to pop up right there. Like I was 90% sure.
Get the Lawnmower 3.0 promo code HLTS. But no, yeah, we've been watching One Tree Hill, and it's fantastic. I think it's her 3rd time watching it, but I'm enjoying it. We watch like an episode every night. And time for a few more questions, guys. This is kind of a fun one. Bo Hammer wants to know, do you guys have a favorite episode of the podcast? Or it could be even like a favorite segment. Like what comes out? What sticks to your mind?
You know, I got to say the award shows are always so much fun because, Blake, you do the monologue. We always try to bash everybody we can. And we do all the, the jokes and try to pronounce all these different names like Albert Ogbunam. He's one of those guys that every year yes. But to me, honestly, my favorite episode was when I had to read the loser's poem. I mean, that's just one of my favorites for sure.
That was fantastic. My favorite, I don't know if I have a favorite show. I've had a handful of favorite shows. My favorite segment is always and will forever be the Pick'ems. Love the Pick'em. I like even when it's like one of those games where it's like yes, it's Auburn, Alabama. We get to pick like who's going to win this big game. I love doing the worst of the worst or the ASU games at the end because it's always so much fun. And then I love because it gives us something else to root for that weekend too. So I always have a blast with the Pick'ems.
I've got one more real quick before Lyle jumps in. Is one of my favorite bits we had in earlier years of the show is, the Don't Sleep on Chattanooga. I mean, how can we forget about that? That's something that we've sort of strayed away from the last couple of years, but Don't Sleep on Chattanooga was one of, the best parts about the show. And then also our obsession with the great Zane Gonzalez as well.
The fact that they actually had a 3-0 lead after a whole quarter against Alabama is that was the miracle in itself. Like, they were never going to win that game in a million years, but the fact that they were actually winning through a fourth of the game, that was like some prayer being answered. But honestly, I think I like the shows, like whenever our first show is of the season, when we come back from summer break and all that, just because there's like a million things to talk about and everybody's excited for to get the juices going and get college football going. And there's like such a broad range of things we can cover that I'm always excited to, all these things I've been thinking about for a course of 2-3 months so we can finally get it out. So I usually like the season opener.
In the comments real quick, Blake, Short Round says Southern Illinois in all caps. They had a guy drafted this year, and I went back looking for the tweet, and I was going to say something, but I ended up getting distracted by another pick in the draft.
Oh, that's what
good old Jeremy Chin.
That was the worst of the worst, right?
That was Jeremy Chin.
Yeah.
There you go. But all of them are good. Also, for those of you that have no clue what we're talking about, we do a normal show we did we did a show in a studio at ASU every week during the college football season. So if you have never heard of that or you don't know what we're talking about, go back and type in the Harris Highlight Show and watch those episodes. All that stuff is my favorite. But guys, I'm just gonna keep it short and simple. No backstory needed. The Josh Rosen night.
Yeah, that was really stupid.
That was a fun, heated discussion. All right, so a few more questions, guys, before we move on. This one comes from Cameron Bishop. Who does the ultimate take for Trevor Lawrence next year? I think we all can agree he's likely going to be the number one pick. So
The New England Patriots.
Yes.
Who gets them? Look, so here's what I said about next year's draft is if a team that already has a quarterback has the number one pick, like if the Bengals have the number one pick next year, it's going to be Penei Sewell. If a team with a quarterback need as the number one pick, it's going to be Trevor Lawrence. And the teams that jump out to me with the quarterback needs right now are the Jags, the Raiders. We'll see what happens with Stafford and the Lions. But if I had to guess, it's going to be the Jags or the Raiders next year.
Chicago Bears.
Oh, them too.
Even though they brought in Nick Foles, they still need a guy that can be, a consistent quarterback. Mitchell. It's Mitchell Trubisky.
Yeah, I like that Bears pick. They need to get Lawrence badly. I think ultimately it's going to come down to maybe like the Bears, the Jaguars, or the Redskins for the worst pick. This question is just meant for Lyle. This comes from our good buddy Short Round. He said, "What's a girlfriend?"
I don't know.
Short, simple, but yet he gets to the point. One final
Short
question,
Rounds is
guys.
definitely one of our friends.
We like Short Round. Short Round has some good questions. I'm trying to find it 'cause I wanted one final one.
I've got one more thing thinking back at it to one of my favorite, bits of the show. And we haven't seen him in years, but whatever happened to Richard Nixon?
Yeah. Richard Nixon, where's he at?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I want to know. I can't find it, guys, because there's a lot of comments to go through. So I apologize for everyone who asked this, but they wanted to know who is a dark horse to win the Heisman Trophy next year.
I noticed somebody in the comments said Sam Howell. I like Howell too, and I know that it's supposed to be most valuable player, but I do think that North Carolina's success is also a little bit dependent on whether or not he's considered for the Heisman Trophy next year. Man, I think if ASU or USC has a good year, Keaton Slovis and Jaden Daniels could be up there. I both think I like those three freshman quarterback along with Bachmeier from this past year. Those four, I think, are absolutely all going to be somewhere in Heisman contention next year. If all those teams have halfway decent years. There it is, Blake.
Sam Howell was going to be mine, but Josh took him. So if I have to go another route, same kind of idea as Josh, and I'll stick in the ACC here because it's going to depend on team success. But if Miami finds a way to win even like 9 games next year, I mean, De'Ara King is the type of guy that could fight for a Heisman for how good he was at Houston and how good people think he's going to be at Miami. The fact that he can run, the fact that he can throw, he scores touchdowns at will. Like if he kind of jumpstarts and rejuvenates the offense, then he's got a chance to kind of make his name.
Can I ASMR real quick? Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Bo Nix.
Stop it.
I think a guy like Spencer Rattler would be really interesting to see. We saw him sit behind Jalen Hurts this year at Oklahoma, and we've seen what Lincoln Riley does with quarterbacks at Oklahoma in years past. So I think Spencer Rattler is going to be a really fun guy to watch this year, if he does indeed get the starting job, which I think he will.
Yeah, I mean, you guys mentioned a lot of good ones. I'm just going to go off the rail just a little and throw some running backs into the mix. I think Travis Etienne, he's going to be up there because Clemson, they're likely going to be undefeated, and he's likely going to be one of the leading rushers in the country, so he'll likely be there. And the same with Chuba Hubbard. I mean, if Oklahoma State, they can win 9, maybe 10 games. You saw what he did this past season. I think he can be there as well. So if there's going to be a running back that's in the mix, I think it's going to be one of those two guys. But thank you to everyone for all the questions. We had some really good ones. Unfortunately, couldn't get to all of them because it is time now for some NFL draft trivia that Josh has put together. So again, normally we got in previous years, normally we'd have like 90-minute episodes, and kind of the last few weeks we've been doing like kind of like an hour to an hour 15. We're giving you guys some bonus content this week because there's just not a whole lot going on right now. We appreciate everyone that's tuning in and watching us live and interacting with us. So as opposed to saving this for another week or not even doing it all together, we're giving you guys some bonus content, some more college football stuff. And we know you guys love the trivia. So as Josh is asking us trivia questions, leave your replies and your answers in the comments below and have some fun with us. Enjoy some college football trivia. So Josh, looking forward to this. Let's get this thing underway.
Real quick, Josh, before you jump into this Thomas Scott in the comments said, what about Rondale Moore? And he was a guy that was, supposed to be the guy this last year on the offensive side of the ball for Purdue. Got hurt. Purdue was just not there. But I think, Rondale Moore, if healthy, could be one of the better, more elite, offensive threats in college football again.
Brady, here's the quick one for you for 5 seconds. Questions for Brady. How sad are you that the Indy 500 won't take place on Memorial Day weekend?
I've got my milk bottle right here, my Indy 500 milk bottle signed by the whole field this year. I got my Indy 500 stuff back behind me. I'm sad. It's the first Indy 500 not taking place during the month of May, but you will see me there in August for sure.
Yay, Brady.
You guys want to come? We can go camping and hang out.
Sure.
That's like a big thing about it, though, is camping. Like, there's a massive infield. We can get a camper and do the show remote from there. That no one will know who we are.
Down. All right. Brady, Blake, make sure you have your whiteboards. Lyle, make sure you have your Post-it notes ready. And let's do this thing. Same rules as before, except I'm sticking to a strict 35-second answer policy. That's what we're going with. So again, there are 10 questions plus a bonus. The bonus question, I will remind you guys when we get there. If you get it right, it does not count as a point. It counts as a lifeline. And if you get the bonus question right, your lifeline is going to be phone a friend. So you can, so you can either bring somebody in your apartment or your house, Brady, or you can call someone and put them on speakerphone. And I would like to point out right now, both of my roommates are available. Both of my roommates that are in the building currently, you guys know who they are available as lifelines. So I'm going to put that out there.
Brady, can you make sure that the screen's on all 4 of us for this in case it's still on like whoever's talking?
Thank you, Blake, for reminding me. Yeah, I got it.
Okay, so NFL draft quiz, and of course, this is a college football show, so it is more college football focused on the NFL draft. Question number 1, gentlemen. I got the timer ready. We're going to start off with an easy one, okay? I think it's an easy one.
Okay.
Which school had the most players drafted in the 2020 NFL draft? Begin. Also, when everyone's done, let me know, so we don't need to waste the 30 seconds.
Hey, Josh, you'll appreciate this. Daniel Gajowski in the draft or in the comments, he said, this is just a bar down quiz, but not about hockey.
Well, I'm ready to go with mine.
Yes. We love.
I'm ready.
Okay. Reveal. All right. Everybody has a
Ready
point.
with the number 2. It was 14 players.
It was
14 players.
That tied the record, right? I think it tied Ohio State's previous record.
No, the previous record was 10 players.
Oh.
Drafted by Ohio State. And one of the crazy things about this, it was Ohio State and Michigan were prior, each had 10 each, but all draft eligible or eligible players to be signed from the LSU team were signed or drafted.
Yep. They also had an FBF.
I was going to say, that's the quiz. Now, Josh has said, okay, part 2 now. The final question, name all of them, whoever gets the most.
Yeah, I considered it.
Please no.
Okay, so everybody has one. Question number 2. You guys might have seen this on Twitter today. Peyton Manning has thrown an NFL record 293 touchdown passes to former first-round draft picks. How many touchdown passes has Aaron Rodgers thrown to a former NFL first-round pick in his career?
I mean, if you didn't see this on Twitter, then you have no chance.
Or you can guess.
All right, I have my
It's
guess.
a significant number that
I
I wouldn't ask it.
I'm
Everybody
ready.
Good?
I'm ready.
All right, go ahead, Blake.
Dang it.
Lyle and Brady are correct.
I wrote Rodgers because I thought you were going to be through.
So I did see this on Twitter today, but I don't know. I think that whole thing was a little dumb. Like, I get they don't draft a lot of receivers for Rodgers, but they have had Donald Driver and Devontae Adams and Greg Jennings. Like, they've had some.
That's why.
No, I know. I'm just saying.
They weren't first-round picks.
Another similar stat I saw, Blake, this is for your new quarterback.
Who is it then?
It's Mercedes Lewis.
I actually didn't know who the one was, but yeah.
Yeah, so when I saw it on Twitter, I did not see who it was. I had to look it up to find out who it was. I just remembered seeing it on Twitter this morning when I woke up, so I looked it up. So the score after 2 is Brady and Lyle are both 2 for 2. Guys, Lyle is off to a phenomenal start.
Hey, short round said in all caps, here comes Lyle.
Here comes Lyle. Question number 3. Which school has had the most players taken in the first round of the NFL draft in history? Begin. There is no tie. There is only one school who has had the most first round draft picks in history. You have 15 seconds.
I got mine.
I'm ready whenever.
Brady?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Let's see him. Brady says Ohio State.
Oh, boy.
Blake says Oklahoma. Lyle says USC. Brady Klein is 3 for 3.
Huh.
Yeah.
That was my second guess.
So that means what I'm thinking is I think then Oklahoma has the most overall players. I think they officially took over because I saw them, they took over something. So if someone in the comments can confirm that, I think Oklahoma officially now has like the most players ever drafted, but I guess it's not first
I
round.
cannot, please do not answer that. That is a question coming up later. So USC and Ohio State had 81 coming into this year's draft because Ohio State had one last year. So it was USC, and then Ohio State had 2 last year. They had 79 going into last year, and now they are now up to 84, and USC is at 82. So Ohio State with 84.
Thanks a lot, Damon Arnett.
Exactly. Question 4. Which school has had the most players selected in the NFL draft?
Well, I'm going to look really stupid if it's not this one, but I'm going to put it anyway.
It was literally the next question. All right. There is 20 seconds.
All right. I'm ready to go.
Lyle, are you good?
Yeah, we're good.
Man, 35 seconds is not worth it. All right. Go ahead. Blake says Oklahoma. Lyle says Oklahoma. Brady Klein is 4 for 4.
What the heck?
USC has had
I don't know why.
512 players selected in the first round, selected in the NFL draft.
You brought up the topic today, so I did a little like basic research, like who's had the most, things like that. And so, hey kids, don't forget to study. It's finals week. Don't
I don't
forget
know
to
what
study.
I saw with Oklahoma, like now officially being at the top of something.
Okay.
Man, Oklahoma.
Question 5. So this is an ASU question, guys, because there's got to be one. Before N'Keal Harry last year, who was the last Sun Devil to be taken in the first round of the NFL draft? It was within the last 6 years.
Oh.
Weird.
No.
It's not who I'm gonna write.
Yeah, there was someone I was thinking of. Then Josh did the last 6
I
years.
saw who it was.
Well, because Osweiler was in the second. So
Yeah. Bad pick.
Did you say receiver or player?
Player. 10 seconds. All right, lock them in, boys.
This
What
is
do we have?
I know he
Terrell
was a first rounder.
Suggs. I don't know, but I know he played defense. Strong is incorrect. It was Demarius Randall. So Blake,
Yes.
you can have pride.
All right.
You can have pride.
I'll take half a point for that.
No, you won't. You will. You will have.
All right.
you
Well,
will
I have pride on this answer. So yeah, you guys, yeah.
So
I forgot. Sorry. Sizzle went to Ball So Hard University, not ASU.
Also, wasn't Suggs like
Suggs was like
early?
2000s.
Yeah, he was way forever back ago. But I was going to write that anyway. And then Josh said last 6 years. I was like, well, I still don't know.
Yeah.
He was a first rounder.
Yeah.
People in the chat
Well,
put
no,
Rod
my guess was going to be Suggs, and then Josh said the last 6 years, and I was like, well, I couldn't tell you.
Kalen Balaj.
I think Josh is frozen. Yeah, Josh is definitely frozen.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh,
guys,
man.
by getting the last question right via pride, I declare myself NFL draft trivia champion.
But who had the most points?
Yeah, well, again, it's and
Oh, bye, Josh.
we've lost.
He's logging back on, I'm sure.
Josh will jump back
said
on it.
pride is something, Blake. Pride is something. I take great pride in owning pride over beating these guys. Hey, trivia round 1, I still got the most questions right.
Yeah, but you didn't get the most points right. Hey, Blake, someone in the chat asked, do you even watch college football? This is embarrassing.
No. Hey, oh. Oh. Hi, MJ.
Classic.
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
When your girlfriend's in the comments roasting you. Big baller move.
Right.
What
happened to Josh? What happened to Josh, guys?
I don't know, man.
All right,
Maybe Jordan.
here he goes.
Maybe Jordan broke into his room and started strangling him, and
Okay.
that's why I said Josh was the worst. Oh, hey, bye. Hey, you're back.
Hey, you relax. Okay, so I don't know what's going on with my internet here, but here I am. Okay, so question number 5 question number 6 is the bonus question. 3 schools have had 5 players selected first overall in the NFL draft, which is tied for most in the country. There's 3 of them. Give me those 3 schools. Those 3 schools.
You said 5?
No.
5 times?
They have
No,
5
5 times.
5 first overall picks. There are 3 schools who have done that.
I'm thinking there's some random one where it's like back when like Army and Navy were just powerhouses and they had some random ones.
No, I will tell you now. There is no like
There's
long.
no one. Well, I know 2 of them. Just a matter of third. I don't know.
All right. Time
I
is
spelled that wrong.
up.
Yeah.
So let's see what you guys got. It's going to be really small. LSU, Ohio State, and Oklahoma. USC, Oklahoma, and Bama. Ohio State, Oklahoma, and Bama. You are all incorrect.
Dang it.
You all had one. You all had one. The answers are Notre Dame, who has not had a first overall pick since the 1970s. It's pretty sad.
When was the last time SC had one?
Huh?
When was the last SC first overall pick?
Well, they also have 5, so
Whatever.
USC, Oklahoma, and Notre Dame are the answers.
Oh, so I
USC.
had 2 of them.
You had 2 of them.
Yeah. Well, that's what I said. I knew the 2. It was just the
Yeah. Blake
third
had
one.
2 for sure. Okay.
I actually am curious though. Like I don't remember SC's last first rounder. 'Cause I don't remember Notre Dame's either.
Oh, Lyle, I would look it up for you. But also, I've heard of one of Notre Dame's first overall picks. Hold on.
Shout
Let me.
out to Jacob McDonald in the comments. What up, Jacob? And everyone just goes silent, okay?
Oh, Josh.
Sorry. There we go. I'm back, baby. I'm back. Okay. So I don't know what our guy Jacob said. What did he say?
He said, "What's up?"
boys?
Oh, hi.
Sebastian Emanuel's entered the chat.
Oh, we don't like that guy. Okay. Question 6. Here we
7.
go. Well, without the bonus, it's question
Okay.
6. So, question number 6. 25 quarterbacks have been taken first overall in the common draft era, which dates back to 1967.
Name all 25.
Yes. That 25 quarterbacks drafted first overall is more than double the next position who's had the second most first overall picks. What position is it? And I will tell you right now, it is not a running back. What position has been taken the second most times first overall?
Well, we got to do process of elimination here. We can throw kickers out. We can throw punters out.
You are correct.
Okay, so that narrows it down a bit. There's only two.
I would throw out long snappers too. I will tell you right now.
Long snappers are people too.
I
Hey, there
agree.
was a long snapper drafted.
Yeah, the Dolphins took him in the 6th round.
Never forget, a long snapper went before Jake Fromm.
That's true.
Never
So did the
forget.
kicker.
Never forget. I'm torn between two.
Write it down
Yeah.
and lock them in. All right. We good?
Yeah.
Offensive tackle, offensive line, defensive end. Blake is back in the game. So defensive end has been defensive ends have been taken more often than any other position except for quarterback, first overall.
It's almost as if I knew what both of you guys are writing down. And it was just a straight middle finger to you both by me getting it right.
Great.
What's the score, Josh? What's the
So
score?
the score heading into question 7 is Brady 4, Blake 2, and Lyle 2.
Middle
all
finger
right.
right back at you, Blake.
Question 7. Hey, careful. Question 7. Tua Tagovailoa.
Wait, wasn't that question 6? Don't I get the lifeline?
No, that was the one
No,
before.
you didn't get it right.
Oh,
You had to get all 3.
I thought you said question 6 was the lifeline.
No. Okay, question 7. Tua Tagovailoa will be the first left-handed quarterback, presumably to throw a pass, just in case he's, good for when the season starts. But when he throws a pass, he will be the first left-handed quarterback to throw a pass in an NFL game since who?
Done.
I'm done.
I didn't listen to the whole question, but yeah.
Watched Peyton's Places last
What?
night, and they had talked about this.
What'd you say, Lyle?
No, I just said I was listening to the whole question. They started to write down before, but I just wanted
Let's
to
see him.
2 years ago today, I stood in front of this man's locker at the NFL draft
All right, then let's see him.
in the locker room of
Yes!
Oh, I didn't get that
Michael
right.
Vick. Kellen Moore is correct. So
I started
Brady's
writing down
got
before
5.
Josh could finish answering or asking the question.
So Blake
What'd you
has
say?
3, Brady has 5, and Lyle has 2. But it is still anyone's game.
The trivia starts to get fitting.
What'd you say?
The trivia is finally fitting. Now Lyle's back to being in last.
It's still anybody's game. Question number 8.
Throw around commented, here comes the host.
Question number 8. Now, listen. I rephrased this question with my roommates because of you, Blake, for you. So listen.
Okay, I'm listening.
Alabama and LSU each had 7 players drafted in the first 2 rounds of this year's draft. What 3 other schools have had 7 players drafted in the first 2 rounds of the NFL draft since the turn of the century, since 2000? 3 other schools have had
Okay,
7
so
players
3
drafted.
schools.
So who are the 2 that you listed at the beginning?
Alabama and LSU. Alabama has done it twice.
So
There
it's
are
not-
3 schools.
So it's not Bama. It's not
I am not. Alabama has done it twice. I'll tell you that. There are 3 other schools, not Alabama, not LSU, who have had
Okay.
7 players drafted in the first round of the NFL draft since 2000. We're going back 20 years here, since 2000, since all of us have been alive. So
Wait,
you need to
I
give
thought
me
you said the
2.
first 2 rounds.
What did I
you
say?
said
The first 2 rounds. The first 2 rounds.
So
There
yeah,
are 3 schools. If you give me 2 of them, you get the question right. If you give me 3 of them, you get a lifeline for the next question.
Okay, so yeah, so it's 3 schools, not Bama, LSU.
Not Bama,
7
not
guys,
LSU.
7
give me-
guys first 2 rounds.
7 guys first 2 rounds. I only need 2, but if you get 3, you can get your lifeline for question 9.
Okay.
I need to flip a page. I wrote this just way wrong.
No worries. You got 25 seconds.
All right.
23.
Well, I'm not going to say
Since
I've
2000.
officially banned Oklahoma from any of my answers because they screwed me so hard earlier. So Oklahoma, you're out.
Okay.
Better not be the right answer.
There are 3 schools. And
Lock those answers in, boys.
All right, I think I got 2 of them.
All right.
I'm confident on 2 of them.
Since 2000, I'm going to give you one last chance to change. Since 2000, 20 years. Everybody good?
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right, Brady, let's see him.
Ohio State, Florida, Miami.
Lyle says Ohio State, USC, Clemson. What does Blake say? Miami, USC, and FSU. I told you guys it was anyone's game. USC and Ohio State are correct. The third is Tennessee in 2000.
Tennessee?
Mhm.
Really?
Yep.
Oh.
So Lyle's the only one to get this one right, which means it is anyone's game. But nobody gets the lifeline.
I'm just trying to think though, because didn't I guess not, because I was thinking about that Florida State like 2013 team when
I think they only had 5 or 6.
I was
And
just
that's happened a
thinking-
bunch of times.
Oh, I would.
So Alabama was 2020 and 2017. LSU was 2020. Ohio State was 2016. USC was 2008. And Tennessee was 2000.
You know, when I was thinking of Florida, I was thinking of the amount of people on the team that were in jail at one point, and that was the Aaron
I'm
Hernandez.
shocked that
Florida
Miami
team.
wasn't there, because I would have thought those early 2000
Yeah.
Miami's teams. So again, I thought them and SC were locks, and then again, I just thought back
Mm-hmm.
to that Florida State team. I don't know if anyone in the comments can like look up the number, but I feel like that entire offense, or like half the. I feel like they had at least like 20 players drafted overall, so I was like, they had to have them in the top 2 rounds. But
Yeah, this question goes out to Sebastian Emmanuel. I thought I did not. I guessed Ohio State and USC, and Bama was one of the other ones, obviously, and LSU. I would have thought it would have been Florida or Miami. I did not get Tennessee. I guessed Tennessee simply because I had a bunch of. I was about to guess Tennessee because I had a bunch of teams on my like sheet already about like something else about the draft, and I saw the logo and I thought about guessing Tennessee, and then he said it's Tennessee, and I was like, well, there you go.
yeah, that's shocking.
Sorry,
That's
yeah.
a good question though. Like, good job finding.
They were
that.
What year was it? Just 2000?
2000 for Tennessee.
All
right, question 9.
I gotta go look up that draft.
This is a
crazy.
fun one.
Players drafted in the past decade.
This is a fun one, okay? The score going into question 9, Blake 3, Lyle 3, Brady 5. So it's still anyone's game. Question 9, in this year's draft, LSU and Alabama combined for 23 draft picks. Of all of those 23 picks, those positions, the positions of those players nearly fill up an entire 22-player starting lineup. 11 on offense, 11 on defense. We're not talking kickers, punters, or long snappers.
Dang it! So LSU's long snapper is out.
So we're counting 11 on offense, 11 on defense. There was one position that they needed between those two schools to complete that 22-player starting lineup. What position was it?
That was drafted in this draft?
Yes, it was this year's draft. The two teams combined for 23 picks. 21, they had 21 positions of a typical 22-man starting lineup. There was one position that they need to complete a starting lineup for both sides of the ball between the two schools.
Bet.
Are you counting? I think I got it.
Mine's locked in.
You can ask your question, Brady. I just don't have to answer.
I was going to say, are you counting the offensive line as one thing or each individual position? But it's never mind. I got it.
Lyle, you good?
Yeah.
Brady, what do you say?
Tight end.
Tight end, left guard. No way.
Dog, I saw this. Yeah.
You saw this? Wait, no, there was. How did you see this?
It was on Twitter.
That's.
Oh, I didn't see it on Twitter.
That's right. I was thinking.
I can tell you it wasn't tight end because in the 7th round the Seahawks traded back into the 7th to get Stephon.
I forgot LSU's other tight end got drafted.
Miles
Seahawks,
undrafted.
yeah.
There was one. They needed one. They took Damian Lewis, who was the only offensive guard drafted between the two schools, and obviously you need two for a starting.
That was also the Seahawks, and he's a right guard, so yeah.
Yep, there you go. Well done, Lyle.
That's good,
well
Lyle.
done.
That's good. That's like
So the score.
That's like deep beat writer information right there. Like the random guy sitting is like, who did they not have in this entire?
Yeah, I completely forgot because the way it made it seem like Josh was trying to throw us a trick question because everyone remembers Moss's kid going undrafted. But I completely forgot that they had another tight end that was drafted. Yeah, in the 7th round. I think Lyle said to the no, it wasn't. He wasn't to the. He went to the Seahawks, didn't he, Lyle?
Yeah, he did. Stephon Sullivan. There was a video that came out today, and he was like all hyped about the call, and he couldn't believe it. All that.
Oh, I saw that.
That I mean, like right when Josh said that, I didn't even think. I just remembered he's trying to trick us. So it's.
I started charting down each position and thinking of who it was, and I was like, there was offensive linemen. It's Alabama and LSU. I'm like, they got stud offensive lines.
Guard. So the score going into the final boss, Brady still has 5. Lyle has 4 and is in second place, and Blake has 3. So again, this question is worth 3 points. So Brady, if you get it right, you're set. Lyle, you need Brady to get it wrong, and Blake, you need to get it. You just got to get it right.
I'm not worried about that. I'll get it right.
Okay. Here we go. There are 4 schools in the common draft era, which dates back to 1967, that have had at least one player drafted in every single year since 1967. At least one player picked. What are those 4 schools? I need all 4 of them.
So it's I'm every time now I'm going to ask double just to make sure. So it's since 1967, 4 schools have had a player drafted in every draft.
Yes. It could be a 7th rounder. It could be 25 first rounders. As long as there is one player drafted from these schools since 1967. There are 4 schools.
God.
And I will give you one hint. 2 of the schools are in the same state.
In the same state?
In the same state.
Well, I'm not going with Oklahoma. They're going to screw me. 4 in the same state.
I think I remember seeing something like it's like a very, very similar stat. Like
no, this is a hard question.
I need all 4. However, if not all of you get all 4, I will go whoever has the most. Gets the question. Or not whoever was able to name the most.
I think I might have seen something similar to this on Twitter. I'm confident on 3. I got him.
Is Josh subtly throwing something in front of us right now? As that the notebook?
I'm ready to go whenever these boys are.
All right.
I'm ready to go.
All right, let's do it one at a time. I'm going to go last.
Blake, you're first. You're in last.
Fine. All right.
Blake, let's see it. Florida State, USC, and Michigan State. All right, Lyle, let's see them. USC, Notre Dame, Bama, and Auburn. Brady.
This is going to be obscure, but I saw a very similar stat like this.
USC, Notre Dame, Purdue, and Michigan.
Boy.
There was
nobody got. Let me see yours again, Brady.
USC, Notre Dame, Purdue, and Michigan. There was some wild stat where Purdue at one point had the longest streak of players drafted in the NFL.
So, Lyle, valiant effort, my friend. You did not get the answer correct. Lyle got 1, which is USC. I'm going to let you two talk amongst the 2 of you and figure out who is – neither of you got all 4. I want you 2 to figure out who is more correct out of the 2 of you.
we do a
Wait,
quick?
can you say that again?
The two of you decide who is more accurate. I want to know who you guys think. This got hard now. I kind of feel bad about doing this now.
I don't want to be like, oh, I want to say it was me, but like I legit saw a stat where Purdue had like a guy drafted for like 28 straight drafts, but it may have been longer than that.
It was not Purdue. Purdue is not on the list.
I'm okay. Where'd my
Sharpie go?
Can I swap one?
I don't know if I would if I were you. Which one are you going to swap? I will tell you who is accurate, right now. If you tell me which one you're going to swap.
I'm going to swap because I thought it was the two Floridas. I'm confident in Florida. So I saw the Michigan State thing somewhere. So I'm going to swap Florida State and I'm going to swap in Michigan since those are both from the same state. And I don't think it's the Florida ones.
I'm not going to let you swap.
Okay. Well, I'm going with my final guess then is going to be Florida, Michigan, USC, Michigan State.
My final one then will be USC, Notre Dame, Michigan State, Michigan.
Man, that is – wait. Did you both say the same then? Because I know it's not Purdue.
Not Purdue.
It is not Purdue. The answer –
Hang on. Are we able to change an answer right now? Or no? Yes or no?
Well, I just told you I'm swapping Florida State for Michigan.
Why?
Well, you said two of the same state. And I'm like,
so Brady, what do you have?
The USC one, I know.
Wait, Brady, let me see your answers. Let me see Brady's answers.
I crossed out Purdue and put Michigan State instead. My lovely handwriting. Don't you love it?
Okay. The answer is USC, Michigan, Michigan State, and Florida. That's the answer. That's the answer. Nebraska qualified until last year. They didn't have anybody drafted last year.
So it was USC, Michigan, Michigan State, Florida?
Yeah. Now, oh, man. Okay.
How do you doing this? What's your scoring?
So here's what we're going to do. I feel bad that Brady was in first place and is now going to lose because I said that even if nobody got it right, I would take whoever got the most. So I feel bad for that. However, Blake got more, and Blake has also not made a quiz yet.
Fair.
So I'm going to let Blake take this so that you
on a technicality.
But just so you get to come up with a quiz next week.
Also, to be fair, I did end up writing down the correct four. Brady, you still did have Notre Dame in yours.
Wait. But that's I'm not even going with the fact that you swapped. I'm going to go with the fact that you got more. So I'm sorry, Brady, but
darn
it. You're really missing out on the grand prize of $40.
What?
No, it's just a whole bunch of pride. So
Blake already won that this show.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, I know. I got the pride question.
So Blake, I'm going to give it to Blake. So congratulations, you're in charge of the next quiz.
Wow.
But Lyle made a run.
So what were the final tally? What was the final tally?
The final tally is I'm just going to give you guys each a point for how many you got right at the end. From now on, whenever I do a quiz, assuming I win another one again, I'm not going to do 3 points. It's however many you get right on the last question because all of them have been like you have to give me 4, right? So
that was a damn good.
That was a good question. A really good question.
Saying in the comments how good of a question that was.
Re-ask the question. I want to know what it was again.
So there are 4 schools in the common draft era that have had at least one player drafted
every draft. Got it.
Every year since 1967. Well, no, I already declared a winner. I'm not gonna screw with it. So if we were going by the 3 points, then Blake would win. But based off of how many you guys got, you each ended up with 7 tallies. Lyle ended up with 5. So everyone did pretty well on this one. But I'll give it to Blake.
That was a good quiz.
by a technicality. Again, I apologize, Brady. But I'm going to give it to Blake so that he can make a quiz next week or a trivia for next week.
This is going to be some crazy stuff.
How proud she is, and he's on replying saying, "Yeah, I'm a genius."
I can't wait till Blake's quiz is like, who was the first player I made a highlight tape for? Be like, oh, great.
Yeah, Blake's going to do not a college football quiz. It'll just be a Harris highlight show quiz.
Hey, I think I actually know the answer to that question.
Who is it?
Because I don't.
I think wasn't it Blake Griffin?
Oh well,
no,
I mean,
not four. He made a tape about Blake Griffin, but
yeah, I couldn't tell you who the first football.
What's Blake's highest viewed video?
I think I did a Cody Zeller highlight video.
Damn right, baby.
But yeah, that was
a good quiz. I gotta say, that was a really good quiz.
That was well done, Josh.
All right, somebody said, "Boo, do the tiebreaker quiz or the tiebreaker question for fun."
Do you have a tiebreaker question?
I did, but let's see what I got here.
I mean, just for the hell of it.
Yeah, I'll still be the winner, but
yeah, I'll just do it for the hell of it.
Lyle is Jamarcus Russell. It's all downhill from here.
Oh, that's Jordan K.
Oh, was it really?
That's my roommate. Let's see.
Blake's first question, how much money have I made? Me only during the show. Remember, only I earn money. Short round, man. Short round's always got the good questions. Respect to short round.
Short round does a great job in the chat.
Respect to short round.
You got one?
Entertaining.
Yeah.
Hey, Cameron Bishop says, "Hey Brady,
Oh.
remember Morgan Ellison? I went to high school with him."
Yeah, I know Morgan Ellison.
Well, you went to high school with him.
Nice. Is that Jordan K's elbow I see?
Wait, did we just somehow get one of our commenters in the stream with us?
Well, sort of. He's in Josh's room. Oh, he disappeared. Josh, are you there? I think Josh will be.
For everyone that's currently watching right now, congratulations. You're part of history. This actually might be the longest Harris highlight show ever. However, now that I'm thinking about it, I think we actually did have a Bowl Pick'ems episode that might have been more than 2 hours. But we're coming on history right now, so.
Blake, real quick, how much easier is this than actually cutting and editing the show?
Oh, it's fantastic because I don't
love
do any editing here. That's where I earned my $100, my 4 hours.
Jordan, go look at your text.
So Jordan is going to ask the next question.
I can just get on.
Oh, he can just join.
I actually invited Jordan to join the Zoom call.
Well, then get out of here then. Bye, Jordan.
Bye. Am I on?
Just audio.
Yeah, you got.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Oh my God, look at it. It's like Inception.
Gosh.
Am I asking it?
You go ahead.
God, these
right.
comments are like, what's going on right now?
If some of you want to know, this is Josh's on-site technical producer, Jordan K.
That's not true.
Exactly. I'm usually a lot better with the tech stuff than Brady and Josh. They call me every week to ask questions. Okay, but The question is, who was the last non-quarterback to go number 1 in the NFL draft?
The last non-quarterback. Well,
that is loud.
Yeah, who's whistling?
That's Jordan for sure.
Oh, I think we need the Jeopardy music.
I got it.
Jeopardy.
I got it.
All
right. Brady. Clowney. Eric Fisher. Good guess, Lyle.
Okay, Josh. Oh, wait, Josh. BK, let's see it.
Wait, is Blake put us up yet?
Yeah, it was between Clowney and Fisher when he was drafted a few years ago.
Clowney.
Literally everyone got it wrong. Myles Garrett, Texas A&M.
Oh, that's
2016.
wow. I don't know how I forgot that one.
Really disappointed because now the tiebreaker nobody got right.
All right,
I got one. Here's an extra one. This will determine it. Which conference
has had the most quarterbacks drafted?
Oh, I know this one.
Just drafted or number one overall?
Drafted.
Drafted.
For one of these next episodes, we should have one of like Josh's roommates do it, so all four of us can do the quiz.
Do that too.
Jordan looking like a modern day Alex Trebek.
Hey, we should do this in the future though, where it's like we can have viewers come on and ask us questions like this.
Yeah.
I would do that.
All right, let's see it. Lyle?
Oh, am I participating? I already lost.
Loyal?
Why
Loyal?
are you participating?
Oh, sure. Here. Back 12.
The tiebreaker goes to Blake Harris.
Ah, darn.
I win again.
So cocky. Well, Jordan K., thanks so much for joining us, pal. I'll see you in a couple minutes when I come out to make dinner.
Jordan, thanks for playing.
Appreciate it, guys. Love the show. First time, long time.
Copyright. Who cares? I have $2.
You're just gonna let him get his own channel get copyrighted?
It's his channel. It's not like we're getting any of the money.
That's true. We never have. Actually, Blake, I'm pretty sure those $2 belong to us. So
This is your guys' cuts for the show this week.
great. Thanks. What about all the other weeks?
That's a great question. Hey, I just got a text from our intern saying there needs to be a show where the interns make the quiz.
I just got a text from him too.
Congratulations to Blake Harris for winning on a technicality, even though Brady probably should have won. We never have. Actually, so yes, congratulations, Blake. You get to do the quiz next week. And Lyle, then it's your turn. Okay, bye, Lyle. But yeah, that's it for this week.
Well,
Blake,
my turn to what?
maybe you got to win next
Maybe
week.
don't suck
Make a
next
quiz.
week.
Sure.
Any idea of what your topic's going to be, Blake?
That's a good question. But you know what I'm going to do, boys? Since there's not really going to be a whole lot next week to really talk about, I don't think. I mean, unless there's something comes out in this upcoming week, I think we're going to have like a big trivia question, like big trivia contest. I'm talking maybe like massive. I'm talking like maybe
Like
20
Scantrons and everything?
Like meaty.
Oh yeah, I'm talking
juicy
maybe like
questions.
I'm talking like maybe 20 questions, maybe 30.
Oh, so we're going to get meaty is what you're saying.
I'll get some true or falses going. I'll get some where I might give you guys like 3 choices. Maybe I'll do it like a Wheel of Fortune style where I'm going to have it out like here and you have to fill in the words and you have to buy vowels. So we got a lot coming up this next coming week. It's going to be a good trivia. If you're watching this right now, I guarantee it. It's going to be a show that you definitely do not want to miss. It's going to be the greatest college football, NFL, sports, life, world. What is it that Bill Walton says? Whenever Bill Walton says it's going to be the greatest thing you've ever watched in your entire life, guaranteed, or your money back. If you don't like next week's show, I am personally going to put $1 in an envelope and mail it to you if you don't like the show. Guaranteed.
Like, I haven't liked any of your shows for the last 4 years, so can I have like a bunch of money?
Yes, you can. You can have about, $60? We've done 60 shows.
Wow.
It's going to be good.
Hey, really, really quickly, I think this week, this would have originally been our last show. Would it have not? Or would next week?
Probably. It probably would have been.
Could have just snuck into the studio again. I feel like that's our thing.
Yeah. Should I make a poem for one of our shows coming up, you think?
And
Yes.
maybe people like the poems. So yeah, definitely guys, if you're tuning in next week, Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, get your friends, get your family members, bring your dog in. We want to have a lot of people in this live chat. We want to set records. We want to smash records. We want you to be there. We want you to experience what's going to go down next week. History will be made here on my channel. It's a show, like I said, you don't want to miss. I'm not going to miss it. I'll tell you that. I ain't going to miss it.
I'd sure as the hell hope not.
No. There we go. KRYS highlights. Here's highlights. My guy, what's up? You came in just at the end. Tune in next video. We got a great show coming up, my man. Keep up the great highlights. If you guys want a good highlight maker, that's the guy right there. He makes some of the best stuff out there. But shout out to everyone. Shout out to everyone for tuning in this week. It was a great show. mean, we were over 2 hours long, a lot of fun college football discussions. So, again, thanks to everyone that interacted. Hit us up on Twitter at the HH Show _. That way we could potentially interact with you guys in future episodes. Maybe get some fans to join the Zoom call, ask us a question, as good old Big J Gordon K did. That was a lot of fun. So again, next week's show, you don't want to miss it. Follow us on Twitter. For Josh Schaefer, Lyle Goldstein, our intern Mason Klein, our executive producer Brady Klein, this has been your host Blake Harris, live from 359 at the District on Apache in beautiful Tempe, Arizona, for beautiful planet Earth. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we are going to see you guys next week for the greatest trivia show of all time.
Josh, that damn Michigan State binder. I knew you were holding it up for that reason. I knew you were.